love my wife. We were practicing and I blew my back out. Is what I'll say.
All right. It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. All right, where I want to jump off with you is tell me about the last meet. Because it was just recently, right?
Yeah, it was. So we did the ABS Rumble in California at STS Gym. It was a power bar meet, which I knew going in was a little bit risky, being a bigger dude, and being a squat specialist. That power bar walking out was a little bit sketchy, but it was a lot of fun, man. It's a different, people get on abs because they do different styles of meets. I think it's fun. Kind of doing the same thing over and over again can be a little bit, repetitive. It gets a little bit boring in your head, but when you throw in that new challenge, right, it's a different element, and getting up there and going against guys like Frank Allen, going up against guys like Kyle Curvey and Luke Tolman, those guys are nuts, and to go into a competition where you're like, yeah, this kind of nerfed the thing I'm best at. But let's see, it was a lot of fun. So going into it, we had some concerns with the power bar.
Can you fit in it?
Yes, sort of. I've been working a lot on my mobility to get under the bar. Like that was my biggest concern. Like, yeah, I'll do the meet. And then my wife's like, I don't know if you can do the meet. You can't put your hands on the plate, so you got to get in. So we did a lot of shoulder mobility. I got into it, but the part that was difficult for me, honestly, was loading over 900 pounds, how much the bar was whipping. It wasn't stable the way I wanted it to be. It wasn't like, the typical really stiff IPF, power bar, right? But at the same point in time, other people had to deal with it too. So I'm like, okay, well, if it's the same for everybody, it doesn't matter, right? It just took, an 8 count eccentric for me to hit the hole safely. Yeah. And then I blew it up and I'm like, okay, all right, now we're in it.
How long do you think you have to wait before you descend? Because usually with that whip, you got to wait.
Yeah. So what I try to do is my one training partner, Matt, he's usually one of my back spotters, is he'll just yell wait 3 times, kind of like in a music tempo, just kind of like 1, 2, 3, wait, and then I go. Just because with the weight on your back, what it's like when you're fired up and you're just in that kill mode, that bar could be jumping up and down. You don't have a clue until you break your hips. Oh crap, it's too late, So I kind of go back, wait, which on meet day turns into wait, and then go, and then you're on the way down, you're just kind of shaking the whole way down, and it's funny because I hadn't had this before, but I recently, because people liked what happened in the cage, started smashing my head off the barbell, right? And that causes a lot of blood and drama, and people love it, so I didn't do it on my first 2 attempts. On my third one, I kind of looked around, I'm like, all right, okay, fuck it, let's go. Just do the damn thing. So I smashed my head, and as I'm on the way down, I'm shaking so bad, I can see the blood flicking off my nose. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of blood, And we hit the hole, we come up out of the hole, and out of the hole it was fine because, you have all just the downforce of the weight. There is no real controlling it. You're just going up. And that, the concentric was the easiest part of the lift. The eccentric was terrifying. Yeah. And then you get off, you have, a little bit of an adrenaline dump, and you're like, man, that was only 900 pounds. What the fuck are you so scared of that for, But you go back and you watch the video, and it's like, that was one whip away from launching off my back. And that's what happened to Kyle. Kyle tore his leg up real bad, just with the way the bar was.
One of the craziest that I've ever seen, and it was with a squat bar, was when Brandon Smitley broke the all-time world record at the Arnold many years ago. It was on scaffolding, so they raised the stage. It was on scaffolding. And I remember this because it was so many times I had to say wait 8 times. Really? Because you're watching the bar, right? Yeah, yeah. It's just like, oh my God, wait, it's actually hold, hold. And it's like, after 4 in my brain, I'm like, oh my God, is this ever going to stop? Yeah, yeah. And then it settled and it went. Yeah. With the head smash thing, I used to do the same thing. Yeah. And I want to sit here and say, I fucking love doing it, right? Yeah. Because I don't want people to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a weird place, right? Yeah. Where, you'd whack your fucking head, and then before you would take it, because I had to walk it out back before monolith, you would feel it. running down your face, and then a drop would fall on the platform in front of you. Then it's like, there's no way I'm going to miss this.
Exactly.
Now, right? There's no way.
Well, I'd never done it before, but what I usually would do is I would take the crown of my head and I would put it into a brick wall before I left, because I had brick walls all around me at the gym, right? And it was nothing more than just, I need to trigger that flight or fight, because I'm not going to lose a fight. I'll snap before I lose. I don't care, right? And so I had to trigger it. And I'm in the animal cage last year, and I'm looking around, I'm like, there's not a damn solid thing for me to put my head into. What am I going to hit? And I look at the model if they had, and it was the Rogue One had all the holes on it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to put the crown of my head into that, because I'm going to have all these cuts in my head, and then the hair's going to grow in. I'm going to have ingrown nasty hairs, and that's terrible. So, I mean, I saw Andrew House do it, and like, he looks pretty cool. So like, fuck it, right? So I ground my head in the bar on my second last rower, and I smash it, right? And I'm kind of going down, and I come up, I got that flight or fight response. I'm like, awesome. I'm like, oh, my face is wet. Like, it's really hot in here. I wipe and just covered in blood. I'm like, oh. Yeah. I look up at the big screen, people are losing, and I'm like, I guess this is a thing now. Yeah,
mine started with football against lockers or bathroom stalls.
Oh, geez.
Then it just kind of like carried over into that. But when I ended up going to Westside, Louis hated the shit, right? And then what happened though is, in one of the APF senior nationals, I got red lighted for it, right?
And for the blood or for the
blood?
Okay,
right.
Okay.
And it got overruled because Louis knew the rule book.
Yeah,
it's like, show me where this is, a red light, right? And so that was like the first red flag, and then the second, then I got red lighted again later, because at the bottom it shot out and hit the fucking head judge, right? Which, of course, I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
And then the last time I ever did it, I think I amped up the volume a little more.
Oh, okay.
Because everything was good, so I started going down, and you know how things go black as you go down, right? It started to go black like right away. Like as soon as I broke, everything started going black. And I'm like, oh fuck, and I passed out.
Oh geez, okay.
And so it was a rule change, because then they ended up putting this shit in the rule book. And then essentially that's why Vogelpohl ended up wearing beanie hats, because he wouldn't do that, but he would grind.
Yeah.
You know, he put his forehead against the thing.
I do a bit of both.
Yeah.
Right. Because I kind of like, for me, like when I'm lifting, I'm not exactly known for being calm, and I understand that. Like, I think if you're going to be fired up, like people see me get fired up and they're like, oh yeah, like he's just like rage just everywhere. And like, yeah, definitely when I was a junior, 100%, like pissed off at the world, 23-year-old kid, just, wanting to do everything. But now it's more like when I'm getting fired up, like I have my, like as loud as everything else is, my cues in my head are way louder. Like I'm fired up for perfection, basically, right? So I know that if I just go up to the bar and I headbutt it, I'm gonna miss. And I'm going to hit something I don't want to hit, whether it's like too low down on the brow or whatever. And so what I do is I grind it here to find the spot. Now I know where it is, and now I know where to put it, right? Yeah. So I think the grinding makes it bleed more, and the headbutt's just a headbutt, but it's funny because I think in the rule book now it states like you're not allowed to be actively bleeding when you get on the platform. So if anybody ever called me on it, I'm like, I stepped on the platform, I wasn't bleeding at all.
Yeah. Well, the beanie hat solves it all.
Yeah, true. Right? Well, we can't wear hats though.
Oh, you can't wear hats.
We can't wear hats now.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, and then you have buddies like my buddy of mine, like Evan Singleton, right? Like he started showing me like, well, if you take the metal zone bottle and you smash your face off of it, it dents it, but it also does the same thing. So I started doing that. But then just being a powerlifter and wanting more and more and more, I started doing that, and then just keeping the headbutt. Yeah. And then now I have like scar tissue in the middle of my head that I'm trying to let die down. And, like you said, don't do this. Don't. Yeah. Like, this,
no, it's stupid. Well, there's keep going. There's context to get into.
But then this weekend at WRPF Nationals in Canada, there's a young junior lifter, very, very strong dude. Like he's gonna be one of a couple guys who I know one day is going to take my records and shit from me. And I'm A-okay with a guy like that taking them. And I watch him walk up to the bar and crank it off his head. And everybody that knows me just turns and looks at me like, you need to cut it out. And I'm like, okay, I see it.
Yeah. Well, there's the context that I'm talking about is you're in that heightened arousal state, then you'll do that. But as soon as you get under the bar and then start placing everything, it comes down.
Exactly.
Right. This is what people don't understand.
Well, it's like the other reason why we like, why ammonia works and why back slaps work and why the bar works is it not only is it triggering your fight or flight response, it's erasing the doubt. You don't have doubt now. Right? Like if you actually follow through on a back slap, like I'm not talking like the ones where you see where, your 110-pound girlfriend walks up to you and slaps you. I'm talking about the one where you're like, hey, 300-pound training partner, come here. Try to put me out with this one, right? It erases a doubt. I'm no longer worried about the 1,000 pounds, right? Because A, that hurt, right? So I'm walking to the platform. That's what I'm thinking about, which is kind of a good thing because you're forcing yourself there. And then B, by the time it's worn off, you're under the bar, like you said, you're getting set, and now everything's perfect. And I have no doubt. Now I'm ready to do my job.
Yes. The issue is when people emulate it, but then that rage state is still there after they pick. So instead of thinking about how everything's stacked and how tight you should be, they're still screaming in their head.
Exactly.
And then that's just a
well, yeah, it's like you'll hear them in the back room say, I only have two emotions, rage and anger. I'm like, oh my God, see a therapist for the love of God, please get out of here, and you're 100% right. Like they'll see things that lifters they look up to do. Like for me, like watching the animal cage rep, I would see like Eric Lillybridge launch the bar off of his back. So that looks pretty cool in slow motion. So what did I start doing? I started to launch the bar off my back, and I started a plethora of shoulder problems. And now my training partner, Matt, who's also my massage therapist, is like, if you launch that bar off your back one more time, I'm not helping you. And I'm like, fair. 100% fair. But when you get fired up, like, oh, that's why I'm accelerating through lockout. It's like, okay, well, what's the negative side to that? Like, well, why? Like, okay, I understand why you're doing it. You're trying to accelerate through lockout. That makes sense. But there's a different way you can do that. And there's a way you're not going to damage your shoulders, because after you're done squatting, you have to bench. If your shoulder's banged up, you're not benching very much, so your squat didn't really matter. Right? So that's the one thing that I had to do is like, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it a net positive or a net negative? And do I need to change it?
So once you're under the bar and you're set, what are the steps that you go through? To walk out and actually squat? You're not in that rage state, right? No. So for me, like if I'm in a monolift, I kind of hit this flow state. I explain it like you're looking at your desktop background, and I have 3 folders. Was this a mono meet or was
this is walkout? So for a walkout it'd be 4 folders, but for a monolift, I have 4 folders, and when you click the folders, there's a bunch of different files inside, and my folders are cues, right? So for me, the first thing I do is I brace, right? It's one word and it's brace, but bracing for me is from the bottom of the sole of my shoe to the top of my head, right? I'm spreading the floor, I'm pulling my ribs down, I'm expanding into my belts, I have my head set correctly, I have my elbows pulled down to my lats, I'm pushing my lats out like a lat spread. That's my brace. Right? And then from there it's hinge, right? Like I pre-hinge all my squats because it loads my hips. And with that being, coming down to super heavyweight, I'm not fucking around with depth. I don't care what the judges say. I know I got my squat. Like I'm not, and that's not a cocky thing. It's, I know my history of training, and I know where my stopping point is, right? And even when I'm in a meet and I feel like I cut a squat, like you'll kind of see me sometimes like look over, and my coach is like, what are you looking at the lights for? I'm like, well, I cut it. He's like, you're still 1.5 inches each. Go celebrate. You know what I mean? So that's why I set my hinge, so I can load my hips, so I can hit depth correctly. And it's also the way I've been able to train heavy for, now 14 years without significant injury in lower body or back from squatting.
So when the bar's settled and you're ready to descend, is it hips, knees? Which is first?
So I do a small pre-hinge, so it's a small 1-inch movement. Okay. And when I do that 1-inch movement, I lower my chest. Because a lot of times when people pull their hips back, they keep their chest up, right? Because they've seen a lot of geared lifting, and they go, I need to keep my chest up. And then as they come down and hit the hole, they immediately just lose everything in the hole, and now they're kind of stripper squatting on the way up. So what I do is I pull my ribs down.
So you're just breathing harder.
And then I set my hips by, but it's only a 1/2-inch movement. And the reason why I'm so anal about this with all my clients, and some of them want to kill me for it initially, is that your pre-hinge is a small 1-inch movement. Because if you set your hips all the way back, the only way you can break from that point is with your knees.
Well, the other thing that you're doing is you're using the weight to make that brace tighter.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, you have 900 pounds on your back. Why not use it to make a tighter brace?
Exactly, right? And then the whole way down, I haven't, once I think of a cue, it's on. Like it's just on, right? It doesn't turn off. Cues don't change for me when I squat. Like once I'm squatting, that's it. It's on, right? And then the whole way down, I'm thinking of one thing, and it's my midfoot. get the weight on your midfoot, build the tension on your midfoot, collapse the spring on your midfoot. And the second you hit the hole, use that midfoot to get the hell out, right? And building that power has allowed me to be able to, in my opinion, lift beyond my own body's means.
So if you're on the way down and you start to feel the weight shift a little forward,
you'll see me slow down, recruit, come a little bit back, and hit the hole. That's why I'm not scared of these slow eccentrics, right? Like I did a 7-count eccentric with 880 in training. And it blew up, and everyone's like, how the hell did you do that? And it's like, because I'm making sure that where my starting point out of the hole is perfect. And if it's perfect, I can distribute power into the floor evenly and efficiently, right? Where if I'm back on my heels a little bit, it's gone.
This is interesting because most of the people I speak to are using usually their torso or their quads as their tension indicator. You're using your foot.
But why wouldn't you though? If you're building a muscle car, are you worried about how it feels at the pedal or at the wheel? Right? 1,000 horsepower on the block is great, but if it's not hitting the floor, it doesn't matter, right? If you're going to have points, like we talk about points of contact, you need to make sure your point of contact is where the power is being placed, right? And that's the one thing with me. It's like, if I'm coming down on my midfoot, I'm like, it's fucking game over, right? Like I do a lot of like visualization stuff. Like my mind's already made up. This is fucking happening. Like, good luck taking it from me. Yeah. Right. And when I get my mind like that and I come down in that regard and I have my cues set on, I usually smile when I hit the hole. Like we did a meet so I burnt myself out this spring and got a little bit sick. But I did the animal cage where I squatted 1,005, and then I did a tune-up meet, which was strictly just to win hotel money for Ireland, right? And I had my heaviest total. It was an RPE like 8 day. I totaled 2309 in sleeves. And literally when I hit the hole with 931, which at the time was the second heaviest squat in my weight class ever, I literally smiled. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. And I just like pop up, right? And it's one of those things where you should be able to know at that point. Like if you're proficient in your movement, not efficient, proficient in your movement, you know where you're at. Like, you know exactly what it is. And yes, it's going to get harder. And yes, sometimes it's not going to feel easy, but you're going to be able to displace your power. And that's all that I'm trying to do. So where's the focus then when you're ascending? Is it still on the midfoot? My brain turns off. I'm not going to lie. Because like I said, once my cues are on, my cues are on. Yeah. Right. I have so much stuff going through my brain at that point. I think my brain just goes into overload point. Cause like, once again, I'm still pulling the bar down. I'm still trying to create that X with my elbows. I'm still trying to do a lat spread. I'm still pulling my ribs and I'm still pushing into my belt. Like I'm doing all these things at the absolute 100% maximal I can, that at a certain point, your brain just goes, we're out. Yeah. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're fine. Right. Which makes sense because you're putting it in the right spot to be able to ascend from. Exactly. And when you're transmitting, I mean, let's think like a power source. If I'm putting a lot of power through something, it's going to shut down. Right. So if I'm trying to throw that much input into my brain at one point and also trying to have 1,000 pounds on my back on the other side of things, something's going to shut off. So I need to make sure that I'm in the right place to be able to succeed in that regard. Mm-hmm. Then how do the benches go for you? Shit. For me, growing up, I was a cyclist, right? So I wasn't allowed to train my upper body till I was about 19 years old. It was a sprint cyclist, right? Yeah. Well, I did road and mountain bike as well, but like with the mountain biking stuff, you know, my dad's probably the best technical rider I've ever been around. And we'd be like ripping through sections and I would just be like a monster truck, just kind of like ripping over stuff. And my dad just, you know, he's like a scalpel just going through, and I was way faster than he was, but he was leaving me in the dust in a single track. I'm like, get your ass back here, you know? And for me, like being the sprinter that I was, it gave me big legs. But the other thing that it did, and I don't think, you know, a lot of parents understand this about, you know, diversifying their child's portfolio in sport, is it showed me something else. Right. And whether it's like wrestling or anything that's like a really hard practice sport, right? It teaches your kid that pain is okay. Right. And when you can sit in that zone where this really sucks, but what I want is on the other side of this, that's what kids need to learn. Because right now we're dealing with a pandemic of people who want an immediate dopamine fix, right? And they don't understand that, this is going to be difficult. You know, and I'm sure you've seen it where you see a lifter go to start a lift and they just quit. Yeah. And you're like, what you said that was your goal. Like, what was that for? And they're like, well, it was hard. Well, the thing with that, the pain at a certain point doesn't get any worse. No. You just can't breathe. Yeah. I mean, that's what ends up giving out. You can't breathe. Yeah. And I don't think that they understand that once you get it to a certain point, I would say it kind of actually begins to go away. Yeah. Well, because you find something else. Like in cycling, like when I remember the one year when I won our provincial, so your state championship, right? For a time trial. Time trial is you and your bike and a clock, and that's it. Right. But the one thing with the time trial bike is we have these disc wheels. So when you're biking, the wheels are going boom, 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 boom. And being a music kid growing up, I understand rhythm. Right. So I'm just trying to keep that rhythm the whole way. And, we hit the halfway point, and I've caught my 2-minute man, and I know he's the fastest time trialist next to me in the province. So I'm like, okay, I might have fucked up. I might have went way too hard. This last stretch of this race is going to suck.
Yeah.
Right. But I just sat there. I looked through my brow, and I just looked up at the finish line because it's a long drag. And I said, keep the rhythm. Right. We cross the finish line. There's this picture of me. I have like slobber, and like my lips are white, and like there's slobber trail over there. I get across the finish line. I look at my buddy's dad, and I'm like, did I do it? He's like, yeah. And I just passed right out. Right. Because like that's what it's going to take sometimes.
Yeah.
And even at that, sometimes you can do all that and not win.
Yes.
And that's okay. Right. Like if I do everything I can and I get beat, I'm like, I always joke, there's that meme where the guy's on the podium and he's showering everybody champagne and you zoom out, he's 10th place. It's like, I have no problem being that guy. If I did everything I could do and I had my best possible performance and I get dead last, I'm probably going to celebrate more than first place did.
Yeah.
Because it's the most I could do.
Yes.
Right? Like my wife and I talk about it all the time because people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this meet because this person's doing it. I'm like, okay, if Jesus Christ walks through the front door of this gym today, I'm going to squat exactly what I can squat today. It's not going to change a damn thing.
Well, yeah, and you have no control over what that other person, they may bomb out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this sport is so cool, because it's like literally, and I think a lot of people gravitate towards the sport because it's the only thing that I can think of in this life that you can have control over. And what do I mean by that? Okay, I couldn't bench 100 pounds today, but I have this plan, right? I got this coach, and if I eat this food and I follow my technique and I follow the program, there's a really good chance that in 6 or 7 months I can hit that bench.
Dave Tate here from Elite FTS to talk to you about bands. We've been a supplier of bands for almost 2 decades now. So I've known my way around the band landscape. When I'm talking about bands, I'm talking about floss bands, long bands, short bands, bands you can use for resistance training, mobility training, body weight training, and flossing. One of our most popular bands, or actually our most popular bands, are the long bands. The long bands are typically used the most with squats, bench presses. Our floss bands are bands that you wrap around the joint to be able to help with mobility, circulation. And the short bands are designed for shorter range movements, bench press, deadlifts, and a lot of times people will use them with resistance machines to help accommodate the strength resistance curve. Head over to elitefts.com and look for bands in the toolbar or blowout menu.
Right? If I do it all right, I have control over this. I have control to fail as well. If I don't do all things, I've 100% taken my own failure in my own hands, right? But I can get that control. I think people really gravitate towards that. But then I think that's kind of the initial hook. But then we see that big drop off with the juniors, because eventually your best isn't going to be good enough.
Yeah.
You need to hit that next level. And that's kind of where my career's at now, is finding that next level of, quote unquote, all in, or, 100%, doing everything right.
Yeah. So getting back to your bench.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the thing with bench for me, right, is like, how do I say this correctly? Like I got a wife who benches 300 pounds, and so she's one of the best benchers in the country. And I'm like, and that's a really good bench globally raw. A 300-pound bench is pretty good. Then I'm walking around, I'm like, yeah, I got guys who are 198 pounds rope benching me. It's still a 550-pound bench, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. But at the same point in time, it's like, oh man, my squat and deadlift are so much better than this. Let's get this over with, right? But the one thing that I've done recently, and I've really been trying to, is kind of poke holes in my game. So when I signed with my new coach Andy Wang, the first thing he said is you're small here, 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 and here. We need to put tissue on all these areas first and foremost. There was nothing congratulatory or positive necessarily said about my bench, which I can appreciate. Mm-hmm. So many times you'll meet a coach and they're trying to sell you a product. They're trying to make you feel good about something. And it's like, no, you don't got to feel good about this. You're damn right. Your bench is bad. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm like, fuck. You're right. You don't have to say it like that.
Yeah.
So this last prep, we had a phenomenal bench prep. I was And even now, like my bench is like flying. Like I'm deep off season, you know, right, with everything, right? And to be at a point where like you have a 550 pound bench and I just like blew up a 500 triple at like a 7, I'm like, holy shit, like we're doing it, right? And the biggest change, honestly, has been something that like I'm gonna get grilled for, I'm sure, but just like doing my fucking accessories hard, right? Because I have a really hard time keeping focus, right? So like when I'm done my main lift of the day, my brain's gone. And I'm kind of going through the motions, right? But that constant reassurance, like, hey, that was your best. And we've now seen, because I think I benched 500 for the first time in 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. So that means now what? 8 years since then, you put 50 pounds on your bench? Dude, come on. You've been fucking the dog for 8 years. Are you kidding me? Like you talk about being all in and all this shit, but you're not taking care of like the basic shit. Get your fucking accessories, right? So now when I'm going up to like a lat pull down or doing incline press or, you know, any sort of arms, you know, accessory, I'm going pissed off because I'm like, you wasted 8 fucking years, you idiot. You know what I mean? If your bench was the same level your squat was, you'd be in, you know, conversation for world record totals, but you're not. It's a joke. Yeah. You know? So this last prep, we had a really great prep. I was super jacked up. Everything was going well. And then we started developing a little bit of like a nagging shoulder injury. I'm like, well, that's new. But I also went sinking and, you know, suicide grips. I'm like, okay, maybe that, you know, that front delt pain's a little bit more of just, you know, a different form change, right? And we found out recently that, you know, it seems like I have, you know, some fluid in my shoulder that we need to get removed, which is causing huge impingement, which is where the shoulder injury is coming from. So I'm really excited for bench now. Now it's bench day. I'm like, hey, let's go bench, you know, so I'm excited again, right? So benching at that California meet, I think, you know, I always open light, because I never know how my biceps are going to be after squats, right? I need to just stay in the meat.
Well,
right?
the shorter bar too that you're coming off of, and a flippier bar.
Well, and with abs, you have to remember, I don't have a break, right? So I do this ADHD bullshit after I squat. My wife's like, where are you? You bench in 10 minutes. You haven't even taken one yet.
So wait a minute, how many flights do they have? One flight?
No break.
And then you
go warm up, you have 20 minutes and go.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's part of the challenge I love with abs though, right? It's like, yeah, okay, I could go do a 12-hour meet and I could probably have a better total and that's cool and shit.
Yeah.
But where am I going to find a platform where I like, so for instance, this year when the original roster was announced, of course, you know, pullouts happen, all that stuff happens. I literally said, I'm looking at this roster and I could have my best possible day and I could get dead last. And like, I have the 25th, I think right now I have the 25th heaviest raw total of all time. And I get dead last. That's amazing for this. I love this sport. I'm a fan of this sport, you know, to the point where like when Kyle Curvey blew his leg out in the squat, right? It was me in the back room making him bench. Like I literally threatened to slap the shit out of him in front of everybody if he didn't bench, you know? And I'm like, I'm talking myself out of money at this point, you know what I mean? Like this is a guy who he tore his leg in 2 different places on the day and got the 3rd heaviest raw total of all time. Right? So I'm like, I don't care, you know, put your fucking shoes on. You didn't fly out to California to squat and go home sad. Fucking, you don't need your leg to bench. Just bench and we'll figure out deadlifts after, right? And I'm proud of the dude. He fucking did it, you know? And then I go and I bench and I open, you know, it was funny because we had the Rumble roster, which are like the pro guys, and we had the Grand Prix, which was supposed to be a prelim flight to us, right? And we had so many pullouts from both that they combined us both. And all of a sudden, like I'm opening second on the flight against the amateurs. I'm like, oh, this is bad. Oh, fuck. Like no disrespect to those guys, but like I just finished, you know, with one of the heaviest squats done. Yeah. And I'm walking out here and y'all are kicking my ass. We got to change something here, you know? Yeah. So I open and I blow it up and I'm fucking around. Like I walk by Frank Allen afterwards and he's like huge, man. Frank's an awesome dude. And I walk by, I'm like, my opener's more than Frank Allen's is so far. Because he hadn't benched yet, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's going and open with my 3rd attempt. And then my 2nd attempt bench was moved really well again. And then the 3rd one, just my shoulder gave out. I don't know if it was a mix of timing or lack of focus, but I failed at like the worst possible place to fail. It was like 3 inches from lockout. I was like, oh, that sucks, you know? And then deadlift comes around and man, deadlifting on a power bar as a fat dude, it's tough. Like going from that initial start position in a deadlift bar where you could have your chest a little bit up, you get your hips a little bit more through, to a power bar was something. How
do you go about just setting up your deadlift? We'll get back to me, but how do you go about, because that is a big change, right?
Huge.
a huge change.
So I'm really, really lucky. Like at the gym we train at, you know, Just Be Strong in Niagara Falls, we have a number of really good lifters, you know, and one of the lifters that I leaned on was Wes Terwinski, who last year at World's Strongest Man, he got 6th. And I'm like, Wes, how the fuck do you do it, man? You go from deficit, you know, bullshit stringy bars to deficit axles to raise to elephant bars to, you know, how do you change it, right?
Good point.
And I'm like, because that's incredibly difficult.
Yeah,
and
you're
like
changing bars.
And I'm sitting here, I'm like, the height stayed the change, everything stayed the same except for my bar is a little bit stiffer, right? And he had a really good point that, you know, I needed to get a little bit more like with my squat on my midfoot before I went, and I'm like, oh, that's fucking smart. I should have probably figured that one out myself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I set up, you know, over top of the bar, I do a little bit of a lat spread, but the first thing I do is I get loose, right? Because I think a lot of times with people, when they're trying to deadlift, they get so tight that they shorten their arms, right? So one of my favorite cues for everyone is long arms, right? And the next thing I do is I do kind of shrug my shoulders and I depress them. I push my lats out. I do my hinge like when I squat, and I go down to the bar. I bend the bar, I pull the slack out. I kind of do one small pump, but the pump isn't a pump for leg drive. A pump is for the recoil. So I do the recoil and I pull my hips back up. I've now loaded my hamstrings.
Yes, but your hips are coming back up, which is a critical part.
Right. And then as I come down, I re-enter the start position with the focus. And I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up, is they're trying to bring their hips to the bar. Right? Hips to the bar is okay, but that's relative to the position of the bar against your shin. Because if you're going to run into the bar with your shin first, it doesn't matter what you're doing with your hips. Your hips ain't anywhere near the bar. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to drive my knees over my toes to create that midfoot pressure, so now I can actually efficiently deadlift, right? And so for me, that was one of the changes I had to, before I went, I'm like, hey, I'm always trying to pull slack out of bars because I have a really good slack pull. Like I can slack pull, you know, I think there's a video of me slack pulling 700 pounds in a warm-up room without trying because I pull slack so hard. But with a deadlift bar, you can't do that. There is no slack, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, but isn't there, right? I have slack in me. Is all the slack out of me? I've been focusing so hard on getting the slack out of the bar. Okay, there's a little bit of slack on the power bar, but are my arms as long as they should be? Are my shoulders as depressed as they could be? So what I started doing is I started focusing before I pull the slack out of the bar, pulling the slack out of my shoulders and then pushing through my feet to get the slack out of the bar and then engaging. And that was a huge jump for me. Because I mean, I think my best deadlift I've done was 855 or something like that. And I pulled 810 on my third. And the only reason why we went so light, because my second was 799, was just to ensure I got the third place podium spot. But when I walked off that platform, I nearly like barked at my wife and Daniel. I was about to be like, load 881, fuck it. It doesn't matter. Just we're doing it, you know? And that's how confident I am at this point in my form, is I think I can load whatever the hell I need to at this point, right? And so I go to Barkley, I'm like, I load whatever I need for third, fuck. It's like walk away, you know? And then I pulled it so hard, I nearly came undone at the top, right? Which was scary because it's nabs me and they will red light you for breathing the wrong way, you know? But luckily we got it and it was overall a good day. I was able to leave that meet with my head held high, considering what, like, I even said to Andy afterwards, I'm like, if I lifted the best I've ever lifted, it wouldn't change the placing. Because like Kyle got the third heaviest total ever, like at Raw. Frank Allen's a unit, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have beat him on my best day. So it's okay. We can walk away and smile. You know, I think that's the thing a lot of people don't understand is when they're competing, they're always like, oh, I need to win because that's what my followers want. Well, like, fuck off. Like, well, like, your followers paying your bills?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are your followers nursing you back to health when you loaded too much on your squat because your ego got the better of you? No, just go in and have progress. This is a sport. Like, you want to get into the sport, set aside 10 years of your life and do it right.
Yeah.
That's how you get good at the sport.
How was your training leading into the meet?
Awesome. Like, we're like, initially, like at the end, it was awesome. Initially in the spring, it was scary. I came out of, like I said, I had that stretch where I did that tune-up meet. Sorry, I did the cage, the tune-up meet, and then I went to abs. And at abs, we started feeling like, hey, there's something really wrong here. There's something wrong with my body. Like, where's my top end? And I thought, okay, well, you flew across the ocean. You're in Ireland, dude. It's a different time zone. You know what I mean? It's a different style of competition. And I was like doing my warm-up squats. I'm like, there's something really wrong here. Like there's something wrong, deeply wrong with me. And I kind of shut it out and didn't really let myself focus on it. I opened at 936 on my squat and I was like, wow, that moved really well. And I remember my wife and I, we shared a look and we were like, fuck, what happened? right? Because my top end wasn't there, you know, and you get home and you know, your body starts shutting down, and you know, there's certain days when you can't get out of bed physically. It's not like it's not that I don't want to get out of bed. I need to go to work, but I can't move. Like I can't lift my legs. I can't sit up. My wife's having to, you know, lift my leg up to put my sock on and help me with my underwear, you know, and you're like, oh my goodness. Like, and then you're going to the gym and you're feeling okay one day and you fail a 700-pound squat. And I'm like, I'm feeling 70% of my 1 rep max. There's something wrong with me, right? And you start getting those conversations where like, well, like if this is it, am I happy? You know, like I have the heaviest total of all time in Canada. That's something I set out to do, you know, 8 years ago. Okay, well, that's a pretty big goal. Okay, you got a roster of 60 athletes who are good people, who are strong as fuck. I can be happy with that. Like I want to be a coach. I want to be known as a coach when I'm done all this. So like, hey, maybe it's time to start focusing on that. I had a couple of my friends that were just like, hey, but like, let's take a step back for a second. Let's look for the obvious, you know? And we did that. And, you know, you go to the, you know, everybody talks about, you know, healthcare and all that stuff up in Canada, but you have to fight them harder than anything you ever fought to get looked at. You know, and I go to emergency and I can't move, and you know, I can't step out of the chair, and the guy's, okay, well, we gave you an IV bag, you're good to go home. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, sir, but I'm pretty sure I'm like one of like 40 dudes who've ever squatted 1,000 pounds raw in human history, and I can't sit out of this fucking chair. I don't think I'm okay. He's like, well, you look better, and you don't have rhabdos, so go home. And so now I'm feeling like really like, okay, maybe this is it for my career. Took a, you know, good part of my life. I love the sport. I'll always watch it. You know, it is what it is. And I had a couple of friends that I've had for a long time, and I'm texting this, and they're like, I didn't even know what to say to you at this point, dude. Because if you're walking away, I'm not going to stop you. But like, that broke my heart, you know, and they tell me this after the fact, you know. And, you know, my wife's like, hey, listen, like, fuck this. Go to a walk-in clinic. Make them let you get every blood panel you can possibly get, and let's see what's up, you know. And I'm very, very fortunate to have a guy like Tim Walsh in my corner that was able to send, you know, my blood work afterwards. And he's like, Jesus fucking Christ, Justin, what the hell is going on here? You know, he's like, we got to do this and this. And, you know, my estrogen was like 2.5 times the maximum safe limit it was allowed to be. So that explains the lethargicness. You know, I had to go donate, you know, I had to go get rid of a bunch of blood because my red blood cell count was so freaking high. I was like 2 points from hemocrosis. And I'm like, okay, well, we have answers.
Yeah.
So like, I'll give it another month. You know, and then it just became, let's get another month in, let's get another month in. And then before you know it, it's, you know, middle of August. And I'm like, I think I'm fucking back. You know, I think we did it, you know, and it made me appreciate everything that that I had so much more, because, you know, when you put this much of your life into something, you know, and you eat, you sleep, you breathe it, you've oriented your career around it, you've spent every, you know, waking moment that you can in the gym trying to get better and trying to help other people get better. And it's about to be gone. It's sad. And it's also scary. You know what I mean? That next chapter is a little bit terrifying. So for me, having that, you know, kind of that resurgence of like, dude, you fucking love this. Let's get after it. That was cool for me. So the last bit of prep, we caught fire really, really quick. And then all of a sudden it became time to hit heavy squats on that power bar. And it was like, this is now scary. Mm-hmm. You know, my deadlifts on my bench are flying. Squatting, I'm walking the squat. I'm like, okay, I need every strong person in the gym to come in on this day at this time, because I might die today. Today may be the day, you know?
Yes.
And we made it through prep. And no, I'm just, you know, I'm grateful to have the guys I had around me, keeping me going. How did you
get into powerlifting, right? Because you're coming from cycling, and that was at a professional level, right? Yeah. So there's a couple questions here that I have. Is while you were cycling at that professional level, there's an all-in mindset there. You had to retire from that, which that's an identity crisis in itself, right?
Yeah. So that the cycling was cool, right? Because it was because I liked it. So how do I say this right? I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, but I loved winning. But I love winning more than anything, right? And it was something my dad really wanted me to do, you know, and I did. Like I was a junior cyclist. I won the national championship at 16 years old.
What age did you start?
Oh, geez. I started before you could start racing. So in Ontario, we have this thing called like the Ontario Mountain Bike Cups, like the O Cups, right? And at 12 o'clock, they would have like this kids race. And it was in the parking lot. And like, we're talking kids with like training wheels and bells and tassels. And me and this guy that I used to race with, Kyle, we'd be sitting there, we'd be like talking shit the whole time. They're like, oh, you got 5 years on your bike? All right, at 21, good luck, bud. Right? We like racing. We got like a Scooby-Doo like gift card to go watch a movie, you know. So we started, like Kyle and I, we started racing together. I think it was like age 11, the year before you could actually start. But then the real races started, you know, 12, 13 years old. You know, go out to BC, win track nationals, which was sprinting at 16 years old, and then, you know, kind of leave the mountain biking side because I kept running into trees, man. Like every tree I'd see, I think I hit, you know, like I remember one time I was doing a race and my dad was so happy because he was a really big mountain biker. He had a mountain biking team and it was a Canada Cup and I was fucking flying. Like I was on point that day. I was coming out of the thing third. He's like, holy shit. Like, okay, we got this. And literally, like, you couldn't have like written this if it was a movie. There's one tree in between me and double track in the finish line and I smoked it. And the guy just passes me by. Like I come across the finish line, my handlebars bent, the bull horns ripped off, my hands fucked up. And my dad looks at me and he's like, well, fourth of the Canada Cup's really good. I'm like, I think we need to go get this looked at, you know?
Yeah.
No, man, the cycling was a really cool avenue because it taught me a couple different things. Much like powerlifting, cycling is an individual sport that requires a team. Right? And it requires a group of people to go towards one common goal. Right? And that doesn't mean when I'm in the gym, you know, every day it's all about me, right? When I'm off season, I'm helping other people and I'm watching them, you know, we're cheering them on. Like when you hear the music turn up, it's everybody just turns and kind of looks, and we got a great community, Just Be Strong, where we all go over and we look and we cheer each other on and we're helping each other out, you know? But everybody knows, like when it's my time, like it's fucking serious, you know? And that's how it was in cycling. And the all-in shift for me, honestly, I didn't really have that all-in with cycling. I hated it. I grew up like in winter, like up in Canada, like I lived up north of Canada, so I couldn't ride my bike in the winter. And having ADHD, I couldn't sit on a trainer and stare at a wall for 4 hours like everybody else was. You know, so that's where my dad's, you know, that's where my personal opinion as well comes from. You need to diversify your youth's like athletic portfolio. So I'd be playing basketball and swimming and cross country skiing and downhill skiing all winter. So I was still being athletic, but I wasn't all in necessarily on cycling. And then when the snow started melting, that's when it kind of came in. Okay, so you got to ride 6 days a week. Here's your training plan, all that sort of stuff. Like I said, I just loved winning so goddamn much that I couldn't stop. And I joined this developmental team for this pro team, and I lasted a year and I just retired because it was the most burnt out I'd ever been in my life. I got off a bike in September when I was 19 years old. I've never stepped on one since.
Oh, really?
And I love the sport. I watch all the races. I follow the results. I read the news articles, but I'll never get on another bike again. You won't even catch me on a spin bike in a gym. Yeah.
Now, when you were doing all that, was there any weight training involved?
No.
So when did that come in?
So, you know, I remember, it's funny because when weight training, I remember one time I went to the gym and I'm like, oh, it's 45 pounds. I threw it on the bench press on each side. I laid down and got absolutely stapled. You know, like, oh, here, you know, I don't think at that moment anybody would have believed what I'd be doing for a living now at this point, you know what I mean? But the training, honestly, like I was very blessed to have, you know, my dad as my coach because my dad's an incredible coach. And my mom for horseback riding was an incredible coach as well. And with my dad was very cutting edge. Like my dad was one of the guys who brought lactic threshold testing into Canada. So we knew exactly how many watts I could produce at what time interval before my legs said goodbye, you know? And so for me, I was able to just look at my power meter and just stare at it and make sure I don't drive off the road in a time trial, obviously, but I could just stare at it and I knew the exact moment my legs were going to blow up. And I was very fortunate for that. So it was more of like a knowledge basis of like, I don't necessarily like this. Like how GSP didn't love fighting, but he loved the competition, right? Yeah. I know exactly what I need to do to be successful. It doesn't matter if it's a headwind, a tailwind, if it's raining, if my girlfriend broke up with me, just follow the fucking plan. Yeah. Right? And that's carried over so much into powerlifting. Like it's insane because for me, it's like I can logic base all my jumps in training. Right? Okay, I did a 3x2 this weight, this week's a 2x2. I can definitely do it because I smoked it last week. Even though it's a little bit more weight, I can smoke it, right? And so with the cycling, the training, honestly, for me, all the quote unquote weight training was just off-season ball. You know, I'd play football in the fall or whatever it was. That's what my training was just staying athletic and moving. And then just when it came time to ride my bike, that's just what I did.
So when did the weight room come into your life?
So good question. So when I hit that 19-year-old and I stepped off the bike, I stepped off in September. And I'd already started gaining a little bit of weight because I was about 170 to 175 pounds when I was cycling, which for a cyclist, which will really fuck you up as a kid, you're fat. right now. Listen, being 6'1", 175 pounds, ladies and gentlemen, you are not fat.
Yeah, you're not. Okay? You're big though for a cyclist.
Exactly, right. And I had a little bit of, the pocket change, and all that stuff, but that really fucked me up. Thinking that I'm fat at 175 pounds. And then I quit cycling, and it was such an identity of mine that even in high school, my school gave me a 4-credit co-op. I didn't go to school for an entire semester. I rode my bike because everybody's like, this is what Justin's going to do for a living. It makes sense to put my dad was a teacher at the public high school, to put my dad as my co-op representative, and he gave me my grade, which I turned into a really good entrance scholarship at university.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's what it was. Right, I couldn't get away from the fact that this is my identity. And when I quit, oh shit, my life went down the shitter, right? I went from 175, and this is probably the most disgusting thing in my life I've done in my life. I went from 175, I think it was like September, it was the beginning of September, I went from 175, and I gained about 60 pounds by New Year's Eve. And I remember this, I saw that like the stretch marks were brutal, and I remember just looking myself in the mirror in university being like, who the fuck are you? You're not an athlete. Like, that's out the window. You're not very smart. That's gone.
What were you studying?
Well, I went as a general. My dad's like, he's like, you are not mature enough to go in the workforce. All right. You don't know what you want to do, so you're not going to college. So you're going to go to university, and you're just going to go and get a general degree, and you're going to grow the fuck up. Right? Because I hadn't paid attention in school. Because I was cycling.
He put you in a bubble, basically.
Exactly, right? And it was the right thing to do. It was 100% the right thing to do, because I wasn't ready. And I had good job offers. I had a friend of mine whose dad owned an auto body shop. He offered me a really good paying apprenticeship, and my dad's like, nope, not mature enough, go to school, right? And so when I went there, I fell in love with philosophy and the different methods of thinking. And the school I went to, they had a real estate degree, which wasn't about selling houses, about developmental. So I went through that, and it was great. I grew up, but I didn't grow up the way I think I was supposed to.
What do you mean?
Because I fucking found powerlifting.
Oh, okay.
I started training. I remember I was a New Year's resolutioner, which, when people start complaining about New Year's resolutioners, I'm the guy on the internet who's like, shut the fuck up. I will find you and I will outbench you right now and kick you out of the gym, and because that's what I was. And I remember the first program I ever did was the Dr. Sapani Shortcut to Shred. And you had to do, I remember so well, I had to do bench press. It was like sets of 12 or something like that. And I had to do HIIT cardio for 60 seconds in the middle and then bench again. And I just remember busting my ass and loving how hard it was, and kind of that feeling from cycling of, okay, I just got to get through it to get to what I want. And then I remember this guy, he's passed away now, his name was Phil Halburn. He would come in the gym at like 11 o'clock at night. And he was the first guy. I'm like, oh my God, look at him. And he'd walk in work boots, blue jeans, a white wife beater, sorry. And I thought he was mentioned 405. I'm like, this guy is the shit. It was the YMCA bench press, nowhere near his chest, but I'm like, that's cool as shit, right? And so I started training, and as I started getting in better shape, I'm like, well, I want to do something. I need to do something, right? So I started playing rugby, again, like I did in high school. I started playing football. I did a little bit of semi-pro football up in Ontario, which it's fun, but it's not like football down here, that's for sure, right? And I just loved it, man. I couldn't stop doing it. Like, I just loved the training. And then the weight started, like I said, because I was in the weight room. I love the weight room. I remember very specifically, I was playing rugby at Guelph, and I snapped my elbow, and it was that way. And the athletic trainer, the athletic trainer that we had, she kept busting me trying to get into the weight room with an arm slinged up. And she's like, Justin, I don't think rugby is it for you. I don't even think football is it for you, but I can see you doing something here, because I can't keep you out of this goddamn weight room, right? And she literally, to the point where she would ask this front staff if I punched in to come get her to kick me out of the gym, right? Because I'd be trying to I would try to do something with my upper body or whatever, and I just fell in love with it. And then I got to a point where I signed up at this powerlifting gym, and it was a really cool concept. It was kind of you rented a rack, there was a half Penlay rack with a Medusa incline bench you could flatten out, an Olympic bar, and some Penlay, ollie plates. And he gave you a program when you signed up. It was 4 weeks in a test, 4 weeks in a test, which don't do. I got very injured very quickly, but I loved it, and then everybody signed up to a meet, and I just kind of I talked myself into doing it. I showed up with a fabric belt. They're like, you can't wear that. Here, take this belt. You know what I mean? And I showed up with those almost like the Russian weightlifting knee wraps. But these help me out so much. No, they don't. But okay, sure, wear them, right? And I went in, I squatted 6. I think I benched 345 and I pulled 6. And I went, this is it. This is fucking it. And I just got hooked immediately, you know.
What was the next step after that? Because now that you're bought into it.
Yeah.
So now you have something to go look to see how to do better.
Yeah. So being in that gym, we did have a lot of really good young junior athletes around us at the time. Like we had these brothers, 3 brothers, the Polo brothers, and they're no longer in the sport, but I've always maintained that if Dylan kept going with it, we'd all be fucked. Like this is a guy who hadn't been training for years. I saw a video a year or 2 ago that he posted, and he's on like a deficit deadlift doing 585 for sets of 10 without a belt. And by the way, he's using a squat bar to deadlift because he's like, it's just harder. And like, these are the guys who kept me accountable and kept me pushing and like really made sure like I was squatting to depth, which is why I'm so attentive about it now. You know, they really made sure that I was doing things what we thought was the right way. Now we're young, we're young 20-year-olds. We don't know fucking anything, right? But we're trying to do it the right way, right? And just over time, you know, got stronger. I grew out of that coach and I started getting coached by another guy. And that was good for a long time until it wasn't, you know, and just kind of build the progression. But it was something I was able to always say, like, I understand how long this is going to take. Like, I understand how much work and how long this is going to take for me to get to where I want to go. So it was never an issue of me like chasing immediacy of gains.
How long did it take until those initial gains started to slow down?
Oh yeah, like I mean, my first meet I squatted like 600 pounds, like I said, and then I think like this is back in my immature phase before I started being like, hey dude, like it's gonna take a bit, right? I think I tried squatting like 660 like 9 weeks in a row, you know, and like that's kind of when it stopped. Like that's when it stopped, and it took me a while to kind of like repair my body, get back together, and then build with a new coach, and then it really took off. And like I think because I have a different perspective, because I've been in the sport for so long now, that I don't think my gains have ever slowed down. Right? I think they've been relative to what they should be. Yeah. You know, like I squatted.
Yeah, but you don't think that when you first get in it, right? You squat 600 your first meet, you're thinking you're squatting 800 in 2 years.
Well, I remember I was playing football. It's when I started getting back in shape and I was playing football and I was playing tailback. I remember looking at my fullback, I'm like, I'm going to squat 1,000 pounds one day. And I just squatted 545. And he was like a 600 pound squatter type. He looked around me, laughed. I'm like, all right, motherfucker. All right, I'll show you. Right? 14 years later, gotcha. You know, but you're right, you don't think that way, you know. And then when I do go back and I look at it, I'm like, hey, so I squatted 800 pounds the first time in 2017. It's 8 years later. I put 200 pounds on my squat in 8 years, you know. And that's a very tough pill for a lot of new lifters to swallow, that's what it's going to be. Right? And that's why, like, my wife and I, like, with our coaching business, we're so on people of like, if I call you tomorrow, Dave, and I'm like, what are you? If the first thing you say is powerlifter, you're suspended from the team. You're not a powerlifter. Powerlifting is something you do, right? And when you give yourself that freedom and you take that break back, you allow yourself to progress in a way that's actually naturally attainable. That you can actually be happy with what you're doing finally. And if you have a bad day, it's not going to send you down a spiral where you have to quote unquote crash out or lose your mind on your coach or, you know, be a dickhead partner. You know, you could be like, okay, it was a bad day in the gym.
Yeah.
Does my wife still love me? Is my dog still going to run at me when I get home? Is my job still there for me tomorrow? Yeah. So really nothing fucking changed.
Well, with most people, they don't come to that conclusion until they've been on the other side of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
right.
that's just it, right? Like, you know, like, you know, I always tell my clients if they come to me, they're like, hey, I want to hop on gear. I'm like, all right, bring your wife over. They're like, why my wife? And I'm like, bring her over. Right. Yeah. And I always explain, I'm like, I am an ex-husband for a reason. Because I did it the wrong way for a very long period of time. I was a shithead. Yeah. You know, I was on way too much shit. I thought I was indestructible. I got as close to addicted to gear as you can be and ran myself into the ground. And it cost me everything. And now being on the other side of it, we're trying to impart that knowledge of like, hey, dude, powerlifting's super cool to do with your life, but don't make it your life.
This is tricky though, right?
Yeah.
Because how could you have convinced you of that during that time? Yeah. Right? Because this all-in thing becomes a really tricky thing to navigate, right? Exactly. Because you're all in. Yeah. But the way I like to kind of present that is you're all in on the things you're conveniently wanting to be all in on.
Yeah. It's like, I'm willing to take, 5cc needles 4 times a week. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I'm willing to go into the gym and shit a spleen. What I'm not willing to do is eat a salad. go for a walk, stretch, or drink this thing called water.
Yeah.
You know, or get good sleep, or, you know, have a life outside of this. And to answer your question, I couldn't tell myself. I had guys like Ken Wentham, you know, raining down my throat that I need to chill the fuck out. I had Dan Bell in my DMs years ago being like, dude, calm the fuck down.
Well, the tricky thing is it's working for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I was working at an alarming rate. Like I went from nothing to, I remember it so vividly because it's still thorn my side to this day. But I remember WPC Worlds 2016 Louisiana. You guys sent out a bunch of equipment. There, it was all the orange stuff, and I loved it. It's my first time seeing Elite FTS equipment. I lay down on the bench and I'm like, oh, I think I'm moving in. Like, you know, and I go there and I'm like, I have this idea in my head that I'm going to go there. All the world records are mine. And they were like, I'm not trying to be cocky or anything like that, but like where they were sitting at the time, I'm like, I'm beating the fuck out of these on my opener. Oh my God, these are easy, right? And they're junior world records and they're federation world records. But at the time, that was the only federation outside the IPF recognizing junior records. Like nobody else had junior records at the time, right? And I go in there and I have this grand idea that I'm going to be able to quit my shitty parts delivery job that I had because I'm going to be a world champion, world record holder and all that stuff. And I'm going to do all these crazy things. I do exactly what I say I'm going to do. And then I drive home with my parents and on Tuesday I'm back in the same fucking shitty Ford Transit van delivering the same shitty parts. Mm-hmm. And it was a crashing effect and feeling. And you're 100% right. I was all into the things that I thought I was going to, but I also had this really inflated idea of what I was going to get out of this, right? And now being on the other side of things, the things I'm looking to get out of this are the relationships, the communities, the experiences. That's where the wealth is in the sport.
Do you think it's necessary for somebody who wants to compete at that level to go through that phase? I
hope not. I hope people don't have to go through what I went through.
I mean, that's my hope too.
Yeah.
But there's such a small number of people that have done it without that.
Exactly. I think you need to be mature on a different level. And I think those people aren't without terrible experiences on their own end, that may have given them the perspective prior to going into that these things may not be the right way to do it, right? Because that type of stuff, you know, gets to a point where you have to say, hey, I'm missing family functions.
Yeah, but you don't care.
I know you don't care, but you should, right? Like you really fucking should. Like I know. I get Sunday training at 2 p.m. is a big fucking deal, but so is your nephew's fucking first soccer game. You can train at 4. You know, you can do those things. Like, and even like, you know, I get into it with people sometimes because they're like, I have to squat on Mondays. I'm trying to find where that's written in stone, right? Because your friends squat on Mondays. Okay, great. I've literally driven an hour and a half to the gym, taken my pre-workout, eaten my pre-workout meal, gone to the bathroom, got out of the bathroom, looked around and like, fuck it, I'm going home. Well, that's a defeatist mentality. That's a quitter mentality. I'm like, okay. Or I understand that today's not the day and tomorrow's a much better opportunity for me to be successful. Like if I look at all the variables coming into a training session, like let's say the drive fucked my back up. I had a terrible sleep. I'm super stressed out from work. And I know that 24 hours will give me an opportunity to be more successful. I'm going to take that 24 hours because I only have so many bullets in the chamber every single prep. People talk about bullets in the chamber in terms of heavy attempts over the course of a life. Let's talk about the bullets in the chamber that you have each and every prep that you can actually expend without fucking your entire prep up, right? Like if I want to squat, let's say 400 pounds, right? And I have a double at 335 today and I'm feeling like dog shit. So many people go in that session saying 335 is easy. I'm going to squat 405. Well, who the fuck are you to say 335 is going to be easy? It's still 335 fucking pounds, right? You need to make sure you're in the best possible state to do that. And I think that is part of going through, like we talked about, all that bullshit, is to have that understanding that, hey, maybe tomorrow's a better day. Yeah. And that's okay.
Well, you get that now, right? But what was the breaking point that made you realize? Because here's the ironic thing about all this. Is once you realize that and you start, I don't want to say balancing because it's still not really balanced, but you organize things better, your lifting gets way better.
Oh my God, it does. And to answer your question quite honestly, and I'm going to win huge brownie points, boys take notes, it's my wife. Like you want to talk about like what changed, it's her. Like meeting my wife and figuring that out, and like, yeah, powerlifting matters and all that stuff, but like, she matters more than that, you know? So if I have a shitty day, she takes a look and it's like, yeah, fuck, it is what it is. Let's go home and play with the dogs. You know, having that acceptance outside of like having my only value as a person as a stupid number on a bar creates an opportunity where you can be like, okay, like for instance, yesterday we were in the gym, right? We came down really late, so we went to another gym here in town, and her elbows are blown up. She has a bad back from jiu-jitsu, and she's 4 weeks out from her competition. And she comes up to me after her last warm-up and she says, hey, once again, this is kind of fucked up. She's like, 253 moved really bad on her bench. And I watch it and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I can see how you think it moved really bad, but that fucking flew. But I know what you're feeling. So instead of going after the 280 that we're thinking about, just hit 275 what you hit last week, but move it faster. Because if you can move 275 faster, we don't need to pretend like you can hit 280. We know you can. So next week going to 290 is not a big fucking deal, right? And giving ourselves that perspective of, okay, listen, you need to find people in your life who aren't going to gaslight you and tell you that this is the be all end all and like, you know, this sport is everything in your life. That's when you actually fucking succeed and you can go on and be an actual good member of this community. And it's funny because I see myself turning into the old guys who told me to slow the fuck down and smell the roses.
Oh,
and I see it. And I once in a while I'll think about like having a conversation. I'm just like transferring myself back a decade and having Ken Wentham just finger wag me about like chilling the fuck out.
Well, here's the thing with that. I call it being on the other side of the table because when I was in that mindset, I had all kinds of people, you know, telling me the same stuff, right? But I would be thinking the same thing that you were. Like, who the fuck are you, man? You used to be good. I'm stronger than you are.
Literally.
Like, you can't even fucking do my warm-ups. And, you know, all this shit's going like, shut the fuck up. You know, I'm making progress. You're not. And the older you get, the further removed you become and the more you become that other guy.
Exactly,
right? But you're still doing it, right? And you're relatable to those people that are just 5 years younger that are going through all that. So you have more power in that regard to be able to push that message that, say, Ken Wentham was trying to. You see now he was right.
He was 100% right.
You know, he was right. But at that time, you're like, dude, you're on your ass end. You know, I'm going to be way better than you.
I even remember like going out to his house and like he had a bunch of your equipment there. I remember walking in the one day and being like, oh, this is the coolest one car garage I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? You could put a Ferrari in there. I wouldn't have cared. He had so much of your stuff in there. And we had this big training session and he had this crew and the whiteboard. He had the orders and everybody's rack heights and what we were lifting and how we were going to get there. And he was trying to squat 1,000 pounds. And I remember he blew his hamstring. It was one of the nastiest things I've ever seen. When he sent me the picture, I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? It was black from above his glute down to below his knee. I'm like, this is like, I was heartbroken for the guy. And I couldn't understand how he was okay. I couldn't fathom it. I would have been like Alanis Morissette or some sad fucking music on the radio everywhere. It would have rained everywhere I went. I would have painted my hair black, you know what I mean? Like that would have been it for me, you know? And he was okay, but he had this like loving family around him and I didn't clue in at the time and I wish I had have. But at the same point in time, I can say that I wish I would have, but I also can sit in this chair now and say, and this isn't that I'm, you know, that I want anybody else to go through all that stuff, but like, I'm glad because it put me in this position. If I didn't go there, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have my name in any record books. I wouldn't be invited to big meets. I would just be that typical mid 700 pound squatter, mid 400 pound bencher, low 700 pound puller, who's been doing it for 10 years, who hasn't got any better, who is a fucking raging dick at every meets. And we see those guys. And it's funny because some of my clients will be like, oh yeah, that guy's so strong. I'm like, yeah, that guy's a really, really strong guy. And then 2 years later, they're passing them. And it's like, dude, because we're doing it the right way. You know, like I have a friend of mine here with me today and he's been going through some stuff, right? And I'll be the first person to tell him, don't go to the gym today. Go tomorrow, hang out with your wife, enjoy your time, because that's what's important. The gym will be there tomorrow. I promised you that bar will be there tomorrow, right? And when we look at it that way, that's okay. Now, with that said, there's a caveat. That's outside of prep. If you're within 7 weeks, I'm sorry, Monday's got to be squat day. You can't fuck with your rest at that point because that's so calculated and whatnot. But if you're like I am right now, I'm 16, I don't even know what I am. It's February 14th, the day I'm competing. However far that is away, it doesn't matter if I miss today. Like, yes, is it ideal if I train today? Yeah, okay, for sure, whatever. But like, who gives a shit? You know, when it's time to like get fully quote unquote all in and you really have to focus your life, how about you give your people around you the understanding that that isn't what you are all the time?
Yeah.
Because if you're all in the off season, you're like, I'm not going to Steve's birthday party. I know he's turning 4, but I got a squat. He's going to remember you not being there.
Yeah. See,
right?
I would say, because I've seen it my whole fucking career, right? Just on both ends of the spectrum. But just with the podcast, with all you guys that compete at this highest level, the ones that have figured this out, right? They figure out that they actually were not all in, right? Because when you're all in that different environment and you're going home just to get in a fight with whoever you're living with, then the stress is way higher than it needs to be, instead of being supportive where so they're in a high stress environment that they're creating that's make it harder for them to recover. Then the nutrition isn't for shit. Then the blasting gear is such a high level just to compound everything they're doing.
They make the fighting worse because they're on more hormonal shit. And you know, like it's funny because, you know, I was having this conversation, and this is a really, really recent thing for me. Like hiring Tim Walsh back. Like I had my best transformative prep with Tim, and this was the meet that I met my wife at. And I was in a really shitty spot. And, you know, my ex-wife had left me, you know, quote, like a year before, and I was miserable. I remember my little sister lives across the country, and she came out to the meet. She took one look at me, and she's like, "You're fucking dead inside, dude." But I had this big persona of like, here I am in this like Adidas tracksuit with this massive gold chain. I'm coming out and I fucking killed everybody at this biggest meet in Canada. You know, I totaled, you know, 2,200 pounds the first time. It was fucking easy. I took my check and I bounced, you know, and my little sister just kind of just sticks it, you know, just a small little cut, right? And, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, yeah, like I'm all in. And I was all in at that meet for the stuff in powerlifting. Right? Like I hate eating. Cycling ruined food for me. I don't eat enough. I don't know how I'm this big. I don't. Like ask my wife. She's still trying to figure it out. Okay. Because I don't eat enough calories in the day to stay this heavy. And when I got with Tim, I was 200. I remember I competed June, like first week of June, right? I totaled 26 in reps and I was 266. I worked with Tim for 9 weeks, got up to 299, showed up with as close to abs as you can, and totaled 2,200 pounds. And I was like, holy fuck, this is what all in does. And then my life turned out really good. I met my wife. We started talking. We started dating. She moved across the country. And life got really good. And all of a sudden, it was really hard to go all in and do all this shit I hated because I had such a nice life.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because when everything's being blasted in that way and you're at that meet, right? Rage is fueling everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because it's coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
And then once the meet's over and you're by yourself, there's no satisfaction.
It's
still rage.
Beyond that, it's more instantaneous than that. I pulled 805 to pull 2,200 pounds. I look at my best friend, Matt. He takes one, looks at me, and knows exactly what's about to happen. I shake the judge's hand because I do every single time. Basically every single time. Sometimes I forget. Sorry, judges. It's a rule on my team. You have to, so I should probably always do that. Anyways, he takes one look, and I go to like hide behind the back platform, and he's already there, and I start bawling. Like, because I knew that this wasn't it. You know, like, yeah, I was all into the sport and all that sort of stuff, but because I didn't have that basis outside of the sport, this is a false propped up idea. And I needed that grounding effect. Like we often talk about in training about building a pyramid like a peak, right? You got your volume, your mid, your heavy, and then your peak, right? Well, what's below that? Right? That's your family life. That's your home life. That's value outside of the sport. That's what all this is. And when you don't have any of that and you get to your peak and you're done your meet and you realize you have no value outside the sport, it's crushing.
Well, it's even crushing from the physical standpoint, because when all that stuff's in that high threshold environment, you're not able to train your accessories because you're fucking shot.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything's going in that main lift, right? You might do one thing, but then you don't have the recovery to do the work that you need to go to the next level.
Exactly.
Because it's being smashed with all the other stuff.
Exactly.
And then when all that other stuff becomes good, all of a sudden you realize you can do one extra work set. You can do the accessories because your cortisol is not blasted all the time. So now you can increase your work capacity a little bit to actually become stronger, right? So the all-in thing is really misunderstood.
Yeah.
Because the all-in is how all those variables come together.
Yeah.
for the recovery. Like the recovery is the thing that gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, fuck it, I'll just take more shit.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't need to recover. You know, I'm not tired. I had my 2,000 milligrams of caffeine. I'm wide awake. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, and for me, it's funny because like I look at this kind of, you know, I'm not going to call it a final chapter because that seems super defeatist, and God, like who knows? I mean, Paul Childress had to hit a bench PR at 46 years old. I'm 32. Who knows how long I do this for, right? But I will say this. You know, quite recently, like we had this guy in our gym. His name was Liam, very, very close friend of mine. He's my daughter's best friend. Like I'd be playing with my daughter and she's glued to me. Okay, she would see Liam and literally basically go. She's 5. She wouldn't actually say this, but this is what I think she's saying. If she was older, she'd move, bitch, and she'd run over and go see Liam. And I'm like, I'm your dad, man. Like, get back here, right? And he passed away very recently in a very tragic car crash. But the reason why I bring Liam up was because Liam was one of those guys, like, you know, you remember the old guys they talk about, they're truck drivers, they train 1 day a week and they bench more than anybody. This dude totaled 2,100 pounds at his first meet. I remember he like took 2,000 on his opener. I'm like, hey, you know, some people work really fucking hard to get there, right? I think 2050 on a second. I'm like, hey, asshole, you know, some people took a decade to get there, right? Total 2,100 pounds. I'm like, fuck you, you know, nice as possible. He's my client, right? He's a good friend. But the reason why I bring him up is because when he passed, I'd already been having these conversations with myself where I you know, I'll go to church and I'll listen to the message and take that message. I'll go for walks, right? I go for a walk every night. I'll just kind of have silent conversations with myself. Sometimes they're loud. Sometimes I record them just so I can watch them later. And the one conversation I had was literally about being all in. And it was like, okay, Justin, so you're signing up and saying you're willing to die under a barbell. Okay, cool. That you're willing to take years off your life putting this stuff in your body. Okay, that's all right. That's kind of weird, but all right, fair enough. And that you're all in. You ate McDonald's today, you piece of shit. When was the last time you touched your toes? Can you even scratch your own back? You know what I mean? I started having these conversations with myself, and the next week at church, you know, long story short, they talked about the story of Judah, and the reason why that story is so prevalent is because it's not about the people he tried to save. It's about the fact that this guy got sent somewhere to tell people this message that he wasn't listening to himself.
Yes.
And here I am as this coach, you know,
telling people to do things that you're not actually.
I've coached people to top 5 finishes at World's Strongest Man. I've coached people to do incredibly well at the Arnold Classic. I've coached 16-year-old girls to squat as close to 400 pounds as you can possibly think of. I've coaching like people. I had this one girl, Kelsey. She had my wife and I, and within a year, she went from a 264 pound squat to a 500 kilo total in her first international meet. I'm good at what I fucking do, but I'm not listening to it myself, right? And so I literally did this video. I go to church, they're talking about it, right? And then unfortunately, Liam passes away. And I'm like, man, we just lost some of the biggest potential that I've ever seen in my entire life. We're not losing it again. And I literally picked up the phone. I called Tim. I'm like, hey, we've tried this twice before. Once it worked great. The next time I didn't buy it at all because I hate food. There's no more joy in food for me. Fuck this. The joy is doing this the right way, right? So now I'm eating 8 meals a day. I have a timer set, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there. I'm like, I hate it, and I hate every second of it. I have a picture of Liam on my phone. I pull up the picture. It's by Liam and my daughter. It says for Liam, and I just eat. And I just look at the picture. I hate every bite, and I eat. Okay, we're done. 2 hours. I got 2 hours to digest, so I go for a walk. I get my steps in. Right? When I go to the gym now and I'm like, okay, I don't really have a stretching routine, but I know what feels tight. So I just start stretching what feels tight. And it's really funny because all of a sudden, like I said to you earlier, I'm really weak in the off season usually. I'm stronger now in the off season than I'm usually mid-peak, and I'm on barely anything.
Yes. So you would have been your worst client.
Oh, I would have killed myself. I would have fired myself so long ago. And it's funny because, you know, I joke with my wife about my daughter going to gymnastics, and we went and watched her in gymnastics, and I'm watching her, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to all my coaches because I see me in her. Right? Like, she's only doing the shit she's good at. Like, there's this one thing where they walk on the balance beam on their tippy toes. I think she did that like 40 fucking times in an hour, but there was like 8 other things that she refused to do because she wasn't good at them. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is cutting. Oh, shit, right? So I'm talking to Ellie about afterwards and like being super hypocritical. You know, this is before the conversations and the deal I made with myself. And I'm like, come on, Ellie, you gotta do the things you're bad at. You gotta tell me one thing that you were bad at that you tried today more than twice. And I'm making her do these things that I'm just not doing them myself, right? And so that realization I'm incredibly grateful for, right? Once again, I don't want anybody ever to lose their best friend. I don't want anybody to ever go through the lows of the prep to get the lessons they have. I hope they can listen to people who've been through it, like I didn't listen to, and they can understand like, hey, there's a better way to do this. There's a healthy way to do this.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a healthy way, not just for your body, but for your mind and your soul, where you could have a successful life outside of this.
Which will also produce a higher total.
And it's funny because it's like the old conversation. Like I remember philosophy in university, we had a huge debate, and I sat there and this is the stupidest debate I've ever heard in my life. And these guys are arguing about like, if you feel good doing acts of charity, is it actually an act of charity? Because the charity notes that you're not getting anything out of it, but I'm feeling really good about myself after. So is it really charity? I'm like, who gives a fuck? A good deed was done. Shut up. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like, okay, I'm trying to be a really good person outside of the gym. Is it because it's making me better in the gym? And is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or does it fucking matter?
There's a mind fuck.
You know what I mean? Or does it really fucking matter? You know, like just be a good person, because it feels good being a good person. I love coming home, you know, and my wife and I were always on good terms. You know what I mean? We could have a conversation. Like I work as a CEO at a youth penitentiary, and I'm trying to like pass these lessons along to these young, you know, criminals. And once in a while you got a kid who listens to, and every other time you're like, I'm just talking to me 10 years ago, for fuck's sake. You're not listening to a word I'm saying, you know?
No, but I think that helps, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll understand they may not listen this time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all the things that Ken Wetham was saying, you listen to 8 years later.
Oh, yeah.
But he put that seed there first.
Yeah.
So it wasn't foreign.
No.
Right? If you didn't have multiple people putting that there to begin with,
Yeah.
and then the first time was just a few years ago,
Yeah.
you would have been in the same, you wouldn't have listened
exactly
at all.
And it honestly doesn't matter who's telling you it. Because I remember I don't remember if you remember, but like years ago, Dan Bell squatted like 1,000 for 2 reps in the cage. And I did the XPC 21 deadlift salute, right? And 3 weeks before, because I was on so much, and we're not going to talk numbers, we talk afterwards, so I'm not saying this on air. I literally went to pull my last deadlift at a meet like 3 weeks prior, and I went into full body lockout. I was sent to the hospital. I was kept overnight. Like, it was scary. But literally, and I remember this quite vividly, because the guy that I beat it, I hated, and I wanted him out of the sport. This, like Judas, what a fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, Judah, I'm like, what a piece of shit. And I'm like, I'm sitting there and I'm in the hospital bed afterwards, and I'm starting to feel good. They got a bunch of IVs going through my body. They got me fed, and I started smiling. I remember my ex-wife looked at me, she's like, what? And I'm like, I'd do it again. And I should have realized that was a really, really bad mentality to have, because I nearly just died. And I'm like, fuck it, I won though.
I know, but in a twisted way, you see that. I get it, right? Because you see that as like triumph.
Oh yeah,
like I went to the fucking edge. You know,
literally
will go to this edge.
Oh, I remember.
I
remember after my second time, my whole hand was like locked. And I'm trying to break it out, and I remember being like, I remember sitting in the back room and being like, okay, like I had that kind of like calm, intelligent moment where I'm like, maybe this isn't a good idea. Like, you can't even stand up right now without your hamstring locking. Like, this is a terrible fucking, like, there's something wrong here, right? And at the time, we had this gym, it was called the Warehouse, and it was a free gym. And then it turned into a gym where everybody just paid $20 to keep the lights on, basically, right? We had multiple monos, strongmen, you know, we had a couple elite FTS benches, we had a bunch of platforms. Like, it was a great place to be, and we rolled in heavy. Like, when one person competed, everybody was there. Like, you can get a seat. It was just Warehouse people and then poor people's parents who didn't come early enough. And somebody moved one of those, the black dividers, every meet has them, right? So I moved them, and I just saw the group of people. I'm like, well, I would ask that they tried, so I'm going to try. And then the guy that I was trying to beat, I'm like, he can't pull 705. He's got fat fucking fingers because he's a fat fuck. It doesn't matter. He's not getting it. And then he pulled it. I'm like, well, fuck. I'm not winning this meet now, because even if I get my third pull, it doesn't matter. And I'm chalking my hands. I'm kind of defeated a little bit. My coach rips the headphones out of my ears, and he's like, I changed your third. You pull this, you win. You beat him, and you beat my record. And I just launched for it. And I literally pulled it all the way up to lockout. I got it at lockout. And I looked at the head judge. I'm like, help.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the bar down, right? And I basically just straight laid the bar down with no control, and I just like laid under the head table for like an hour while we waited for an ambulance, and I was in full lock. And like you said, I took it to the edge. I won. They gave me my medal on the ground. They took the podium pictures with us on the ground. I got the check on the ground. You know what I mean? And I thought it was so fucking cool. And now if I saw one of my clients do that, I'd be like, you're fucking off the team. Get the fuck off. You're not listening to a word I'm saying, you know? Yeah. And maybe I needed my coach to do that at the time. I don't know. Right. But like I said, even though I went through it and it was really terrible, I'm grateful because I can have the perspective down to be like, all right, like, maybe not worth it.
Yeah.
You know, for a small local meal, like, what is that?
Hey guys, if you're enjoying what you're watching, make sure to take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. All right. With all these all-in stories, how long have you been working as a coach?
So I took my first client in 2017.
Okay.
And I coached for free for 3 years before I called myself a coach.
Expand on that.
Well, I grew up in a house of coaches, right? I grew up in a house of very fucking good coaches. And so for me, I didn't feel like I knew the X's and O's of the sport well enough, because as you know, the longer you get in the sport, the less you think you know.
Yeah.
Right? Even to this day, I'm sitting there and I'll get invited to do something or whatnot. I'm like, this guy? All right, it's up to you now. So I felt like I needed to learn more. And so I felt like not charging clients for the first bit was a good way to remove any potential negative things that may happen. Right? Like if I explain like, hey, I'm new to coaching, I'd love to help you out, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I remember I was a 1,950 pound total as a junior at 242. Right. So people wanted me to coach them. I'm like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. Like, but I can kind of tell you what I do. And that's kind of how every coach starts, is just kind of regurgitating what's worked for them. But what I found out very quickly, because my very first client I have, I still kind of keep in touch with to this day. His life's just changed. He's moved to Texas. He's a professional poker player now. He doesn't really train. But we always talk. And I literally had him until last year. And I finally said, I'm like, buddy, listen, I love you, dude. We're still friends. You don't have to pay me for us to talk. Let's just talk. You know what I mean? Like, you're not training. Let's just be real. And immediately early on, he had an entirely different body composition to what I had. So what I wanted him to do wouldn't work at all. And we found out quickly and abruptly that what I was trying to do wasn't working. So I had to look at different ways around it. Right. And the one thing that I always kind of came back to that I felt like was a really good basis for just an overall training philosophy was I love some maximal training. I think it's a really good way to be able to fix things with early lifters, young lifters in their careers. They can fix their form a lot easier than consistently loading those 80 to 90% efforts, right? And yes, I understand that's when the shit's going to hit the fan and you're going to see the breakdown. But if I already know what the breakdown is, why do I need to see it?
Yeah.
Why don't we just get more and more paths through the groove correctly, and then we can go and, okay, now let's find the 80%. Where's the next breakdown? Right? Or where's the weakness, right? So for those first 3 years, I kind of took on 5 to 6 clients at a time, just working through. And I was the one thing that I've always been really on with is my feedback. Like, I try to give as quick feedback as I can. Like, if you look over my right shoulder right now, I can almost bet that my wife's probably on her phone giving feedback to clients while they're training. So they can input it and they can feel it within the session. And yes, I know that makes us beyond busy, right? And extremely tired at the end of the day. But if a client can feel a cue kick in the middle of their session, I don't need to remind them next week. They know exactly what the fuck it is.
Yes.
Where if I just give them a weekly report and say, all right, buddy, on your squat, do this. Right? They're, okay, cool. And they don't know what it feels like. And they're reading it, they don't quite understand, but they can feel it in the middle of it. So I was very big on that kind of in the moment coaching, right? Like personal training, but on your phone. So after that 3rd year mark, I basically got sent an e-transfer from that first client. He said, you need to start charging people now. Because he went from like a 300-pound pull to a 600-pound pull. He said, okay, you know what the fuck you're doing. We're like, he's like, I'm a nobody, and you got me here. You need to start. And he started forcing me. My old coach, he started forcing me to do it too. And I was like, all right, like $50 a month. They're like, Jesus Christ, Justin, no, more than that. Like, how many hours are you putting into these clients, all that sort of stuff. And then over the years, working with different people, consuming as much content as I could, right, was a big one for me, because if I can sit down to a 2-hour podcast or 3-hour podcast and pick a couple things out that might work really well for me, that's invaluable, right? Because that's an experience I didn't have to experience. You know what I mean? Like we're sitting here hoping people understand what all in actually means through bad experiences. I can also take good things, like positive changes from these things, and say, okay, so for instance, the one I will always remember that kind of started the pre-Hinge for me was when Ed Cohn did that how to squat video with the Mark Bell crew, and it was a funny thing, and everybody laughed about it, but nobody paid enough attention to it. Was when he said, "Open your Tate." That's my pre-Hinge. That's literally my pre-Hinge. That has changed my squat. That has made me in one of the best squatters in the world, in my opinion. I think I can say that, right? And that's changed it. And that was a stupid joke that Mark Bell and the other guy made, and Ed's like, no, this is serious. Like, listen to this, right? And that's what I took from it. Or when I listened to Pete Rubish, because he was the guy I used to look at a lot, like, this guy's intense. I tried the bleach thing too one time. It did not go well. That was a dirty platform. I had to buy a new piece of plywood for that platform afterwards. But I remember him talking about, like, the biggest thing for him when he was deadlifting was like thinking about his lats and getting his lats engaged. I'm like small things like that. So when I started piecing all these things together and looking at how different like builds lifters lift, and you start creating notes of like, hey, if you have longer femurs, this needs to change like this versus a short femur lifter, it started just kind of building. But my coaching business honestly didn't take off till I met my wife, because when I'm at a meet, like if I'm handling you, I don't care if Mother Teresa's in our way. We're running over that bitch to get to where we need to get. I don't care who's there. I'm there for you. I don't care if I make enemies along the way. You're paying me to give you the best possible result on the day, and I know what needs to be done. I am very fucking intense as a handler. I might be more intense than my lifters on meet day, because I know what it's going to take, right? And you can ask anybody that I've handled, they fucking love it. They don't have to put their shoes on. I open their water bottles. I do everything for them, right? So they have to do as little as possible. They just have to do 9 lifts and do them right, you know? And as we started doing that, I started pissing a lot of people off in warm-up rooms. Like, oh, that's all guy, he's an asshole. I'm like, yeah, I am. For my people. Right? You catch me outside of powerlifting, let's go have a conversation, let's have a coffee, you know what I mean? Let's chat, you know? But then when Len started coming around, or people would see me compete, and like, this guy's just fucking terrifying, Jesus Christ. Don't let me near this guy. And when Len came in the picture, there was all of a sudden that open person that was able to be communicated with, that people weren't intimidated by, right? And it literally went from like, okay, like let's start coaching together, and like let's start doing this, because like we both had our own kind of individual things. And maybe by January, I remember saying to her, because I was working as a service manager at the time, and I'm like, December 31st, whether we have the clients or not, I'm quitting my job. We're going all in on this. And I think that was like August, right? October 16th, I'm like, I quit, because I was making way more money, because all of a sudden I had this person who was approachable and also had a different perspective, right? Like being an athlete and being good at everything I tried, except for basketball, put me in a position where I was extremely ignorant to the plight of people who weren't really good with their bodies. Yeah. Right? It's like, just how the fuck can't you do it? Just sit your hips back. It's not that hard. All right. You know, and then I have, you know, my wife comes from a background of extreme weight loss. Right? She was not an athlete growing up. She has a different perspective. So when we combined our styles together, it just meshed beautifully right away. And we still have most of the clients we started with. Like, we have clients that have been with us 3-5 years, and we're like, holy shit, like, okay, like, this is clearly working, you know? And having that different perspective for both of us has been huge. Because even for me, like, I'm learning stuff from her, and she's learning stuff from me. Yeah. Right? And it's so that knowledge base of like, I don't know everything, and I hope I never do. Because I think the day that I would learn everything is, I think, the day I'd leave.
Well, it won't happen. Because the more you learn, the more you realize.
Exactly. That's exactly what we talked about earlier, right? Like, like if I sit down and I have a conversation, you know, even like with Joe Sullivan, he was my coach, right? And we talked about the coiling aspect of a squat or a bench or even a deadlift, right? And we get those lats on and all that stuff. I'm like, holy shit, this is the thing. And I think we've all had that moment where we've gotten in tune, like, this is the key to all my problems with this lift. And all it did was expose another problem you had with your lift, right? So like for me, like when I found the coiling thing, okay, that's great. But now I need to figure out what the hell is going on with my ribs. Because now when I'm coiling, okay, now, you know what I mean? And one thing leads to another. So for me, it was the understanding of like, I'm never going to know everything. And I'm grateful for that. But what I do know can help people, right? And I don't have a problem with, you know, weak people being coaches or new people being coaches. I think a lot of people get caught up in like, guy doesn't mean he's a coach. Well, I think anybody can be a coach type figure. Right? There's assistant coaches and, you know, all that sort of stuff on football teams. Why isn't there something similar in powerlifting? I don't have a problem with that. Where the problem lies in what we see with a lot of people are the absolute statements that are required to have a good content following. Like if I look at the camera right now and I say, this is what's wrong with powerlifting, and then I say something inflammatory, we're going to go viral. But if I actually say what's wrong with powerlifting, we're going to get 3 people that view it and we're all sitting around this table right now. Right? So people have to make these statements of like I remember I hired this guy and he does incredible work, honestly, like the videographer work and the content that he makes and the way that he teaches you to make these posts work. I can tell you it worked for me, but it wasn't me. Right? And I had this video and it was like talking about the pre-hinge and he's like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. You're going to start off with this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like hearing what he's saying. I'm like, I understand that this is really going to work. I get it, but it's not me. And basically the script was, I'm going to fix your shitty squat in the next 30 seconds. Well, let's take a step back. You don't have a shitty squat.
Yeah.
You're new. You're learning. Keep trying. And I can't fix your squat in 30 seconds. Right? But that video went fucking viral. Right? And it was a great point. It was a great cue. Right? It worked. It makes sense. But that's not what's going to fix your squat. So when I kind of took a step back and I said, okay, I don't want to be an inflammatory person. I don't want to put these absolute statements out because most of them are wrong. Right?
Yeah.
There's an absolute statement. Right? But what I can do is I can sit there and say, look, there's a million different ways to get to where we're going to go. Right? There's the long way, the short way, and the medium way. Right? And a lot of times coaches get into this fact like, this is the way. And the coaches say this is the way are usually the ones who are just saying what they did, what worked. Right? And so I talk to my coaches all the time and say, or my clients all the time and say, you know, Justin, like I'm really, but I think you need more credit for what we're doing. And I'm like, I'm your GPS. I used to say I'm the steering wheel, but now I say I'm your GPS. It's up to you to follow where I'm taking you. Right? If you listen to me, right, we're going to get to the destination. If you decide to max out and eat like shit, all right, that's where you're avoiding all in. That's where you're avoiding rehab. That's where you're avoiding nutrition. That's where you're avoiding recovery. And we might still get there like I did, but you're going to go all the way through here and you're going to go through some really sketchy parts of town. Or you can understand this is going to take a little bit of time. You're not going to get instant dopamine releases and we can get there on a straight line. It's just going to take a minute, right? But everybody thinks there's a shortcut.
Yeah.
Everybody, even coaches to this day, think there's a shortcut. They think they can take this course and that's going to revolutionize their coaching business. Or what I found personally is the conversations. Like I've been very blessed to coach very good athletes. And I've been able to sit and have conversations because of them with people like a Derek Poundstone. And I'm like, how the hell did you build your deadlift to beat Marius? Because that guy was unstoppable at the time. And Derek seemed like one of the only people next to Sojournas who could beat him. And I'm like, I'm Polish. I hero worship Marius, but I cheered for you. You know, my grandfather fought for Poland. I'm Canadian. My grandfather fought for Poland. I hero worship the guy, but I was always cheering for you. Right? How did you do it? And we sits there and he explains how he built his deadlift up in his training cells and all that sort of stuff, and how he changed what he's doing to what his athletes are doing, and he wishes he did it that way now. You have this conversation like, okay, cool. So what I got from that is this. I'm doing it the right way for me today, but I'm going to find out there was a better way tomorrow. And I need to look for that better way tomorrow. But if I find that better way tomorrow, I need to actually do research and not just go, this is the next biggest thing. Yeah. Because you hear that all the time. This is the $1 million cue. No, it's not. It's just not. Yeah. There's no $1 million cue. If there was, we'd all be done.
It's coaches thinking that the larger view count or follower count is going to lead to more clients.
Yeah.
And that's not true in so many regards.
Yeah. My best clients, honestly, have all been referrals.
Yes.
Like Sam, the guy who's here with me right now, I remember getting him, and he was like at the start, and I hope he's listening right now because he needs to hear it. He was a fucking pain in the ass. All right. He didn't buy in. right? And he couldn't understand why so many people were just like, what Justin and Len say is so smart, it works, blah, blah, blah. I remember like 3 months and he sent me this message. I'm like, okay, I'm getting fired. Whenever I see the read more button, I'm like, I'm fired, right? And I'm like, okay, it makes sense. And it basically, he was so mature to be like, listen, I didn't understand it, but I fucking get it, and let's go. And now he's that guy who, like, I remember one time after me, he came up to me and said, oh, am I the, like him and his wife come up to me after me, like, are we the shitty part of Team Zottl? And it broke my fucking heart. I'm like, dude, like, what? Like, I don't think you realize how much that fucked Len and I up. And now it's at the point now where he's catching all those guys in his gym that he was chasing. And it's at that point where he's reaching out and passing a couple of them, and he sees it, right? And that's what I love, because if I was just go, let's focus on numbers today. We're chasing numbers. Let's go chase numbers. I'd have him for 1 year. Mm-hmm. I think it's been almost 3 now.
Yeah.
You know, and he's way further than he's ever been. And that's why when I get on a consult call with clients, I'm like, I'm going to say this, and don't interrupt me and let me get through this. I don't care how much you lift, and I'm never going to, right? I care that we lift efficiently. If we're lifting efficiently, we're going to navigate around movement patterns that are going to cause injuries. And if we're lifting injury free, right, and you're moving efficiently, I'd like to, probably say that you probably enjoy lifting if we're talking right now, right? So if you're not in pain and you're lifting efficiently and you're enjoying it more, what's going to happen? You're going to train harder. And if you're training harder, lifting efficiently, pain-free, and enjoying it, there come your results. But if I go after this first, you're never going to see the other 4. Yeah. And you're going to quit like every junior before you, right? And people don't want to hear it. They want the, oh, okay, so I squat 500 now, you get me to 600, right? Well, probably. But are you going to do the work? Are you going to listen? Are you going to, when I tell you that you need to do Bulgarian split squats, I don't make many people do them, but if I did, if that's what I tell you, are you going to do them? And are you going to put your heart into it? Because if you're not, it's going to, like the GPS, you're going to take longer, and I'm probably getting fired around here.
Yeah.
Right? So when I started coaching, I was very lucky to have coaches around me that were already like that, who understood, who had been in it for a decade already themselves and had that thing. And I'm like, I want to lift like you. Right? I want to lift like you. And I was already strong enough that I was close, so it was okay. And then as the career developed and life happens, and you go through, I took a couple year hiatus where I fought for a bit, and you come back to the sport because you love it so much, and you come back with different perspectives. It turns into this thing with where coaching is all of a sudden just people management. I tell my clients all the time, you're not paying me for programming. If you want programming, there's this really cool thing called ChatGPT. Yeah. It'll write you a fucking program. All right. You're with me for coaching, for the shit outside of the gym, and for the shit on meet day. Not one of those things is programming. I'm really good at programming. It doesn't take much. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you need to understand when you have a form breakdown, what the fuck happened. Right? So literally after Nationals this weekend, I had a couple of my clients over and we're watching. I'm like, I paused. I like an NFL coach, pause. What's wrong with her setup? And how we fix it? And they need to answer the question, right? And if they can answer the question, I know I'm doing my job. Because when they watch their videos, they can be like, hey, I know my shoulders are forward. I got to bend the bar on my chest. I got it. Fucking perfect. Yeah. Because I want to get you to a point where you don't need me anymore. That's my favorite day. The day where you outgrow me is an incredible day.
Well, you just touched on a key thing where I've always said for fucking decades that all weak points are mental, physical, or technical, but everybody wants the physical answer. Yeah. What exercise do I need to do to make my squat stronger? Yeah. Well, your technique sucks. Oh my God. Technique is the answer almost all the time.
We have this guy, he's a tested lifter in our federation, right? And he's losing his shit because the refs are after him. Jeez, dude, it's fucking, nobody's after you, dude. Jeez, like what the hell? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he said, well, they're saying I squat high, and I felt like in this moment, like I was called to be. I'm not as intensive a lifter as I am. I'm the opposite coach. I'm an incredibly soft coach. Like my clients, like no word of a lie, I will cry after almost every meet because I'm overcome with like A, their belief in me and my wife. B, I'm so fucking proud of how well they did, or heaven forbid they had a bad day. My heart's destroyed. Okay. I'm not a yell in your face coach. I'll get you fired up on meet day and you will walk through a fucking wall for me if that's the way you lift. But if you just need to like crack a joke or something like that, I'll do that too, right? So I'm not a guy who's just gonna be in your face and a dick, right? But something told me I needed to be to this kid. And I said, dude, you fucking squat high. You jam your knees forward, you bottom out so you think you hit depth, and then you get mad when you don't get the call. And so to sink your next squat, what you do is you go beyond your body's limitation, which is why your knees are always fucked up. And he's sitting there, you can just see the wheels turning, and I hope he's listening now. I hope he fucking listens, because if he does, he's going to do some big work. I had the same conversation about 10 years ago. Luckily, I listened because I'm terrified of blowing my knees out from my cycling past, right? So I listened, and I hope he does too, right? So coaching for me is not a standpoint of like, it's my way. I always tell my clients, my name is not Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. I do not write scripture. Okay, we're going to do this together. And I get very frustrated when I hear coaches like, this is my 6th world record. Where's your singlet, dude? You know what I mean? Like, is that you on the platform? No, like, that's your client's world record. And yeah, of course you should be proud that you helped them get there. But dude, that's their moment, right? That's them, you know? And for me, that's what coaching is supposed to be. I'm helping you get better.
Yeah. With the squat, what do you see in meets?
Yeah.
The biggest technical shortfall, because it goes in waves, like it changes every 100%. Few years, something like what's the hot technical fuck up now?
Just fucking trying to be fast. People think that speed kills, and they're right. It kills your fucking form. Like, for fuck's sakes, why are you dive bombing the hole and then being confused as to why your back hurts after your squat? Now I can't load my third. No shit, you idiot. You just grenaded 500 pounds on your poor spine in a shit position, right? So with that, it's like, you're always going to take your easy way out. If you're not mentally sound, you're always going to take the easy way out. So on bench press, what is that? That's flaring off your chest. You're going to launch that like right to 90 degrees and just stop. Right? What's it on deadlifting? It's yanking the bar. You're going to get it to your knees and just stop, right? On squatting, it's breaking at your knees and jamming them forward first, right? You're going to find federations that are going to allow you to do that and allow you to squat high, right? That's an incredibly short-sighted way of doing it, because over time, all you're doing is either damaging your patella tendon, which is going to lead to a quad rupture, or you're fucking your lower back up. Because one of those two things is going to have to go for you to hit depth when you're forced to. Right? So if you're standing there and you're spreading the floor and you're braced and everything's great, the easiest thing for you to always do is to push your knees forward. But now you're fucked. Right? So with my clients, that's why I make them pre-hinge. I'm like, a sniper looks down the sight, checks the air, checks this before he pulls the trigger. He doesn't just throw that motherfucker up on the wall and pull the trigger, because he's going to miss, and he understands that. Why are you any different? Take your time, set your hips, load them, sit back and down, and watch yourself actually be able to consistently transmit power, rather than down and, oh, why did I stripper squat? Well, because your back wasn't tight going in the hole because you didn't give yourself time to get tight, right? Oh, I don't feel my hamstrings or my quads or my glutes when I squat. Because you're not fucking using them. Like, why are you making a difficult thing harder? Take your time. You know? So yeah, for me with the squatting, it's definitely the jamming the knees forward.
With how do I want to go with this? With the cycling, right? I think I heard in one of the podcasts that you were on, another part of the reason why you wanted to get out of it is just you get to a certain level, the politics become what they are, right? Yep. Powerlifting's the same way. Yes. Where I tell a lot of lifters, it's kind of like you're on the road, the Wizard of Oz, and then at a certain point you see behind the curtain. Where I tell them just stay the fuck on the yellow brick road, and don't worry about being behind the curtain. I wish. And then you can be the tin man, the straw man, and you can have a great fucking way. But once you see behind you can't unsee it. Right. So and this has been an interesting thing watching on the raw side, is with the top raw lifters, the federation doesn't matter, right? But y'all seem to move right before the crash comes, right? And first time I had John Hack on, that was like the biggest question I want to know. Like, how the hell do you know when to move and then everybody moves with you, right? Now, I'm not saying he's leading, right? Because that's not happening. All I'm thinking is you all are on some fucking group DM, right? But you're not, right? So you all kind of instinctively know that it's time to move, because the one thing that has been good to see is y'all want to compete against each other.
Finally.
Right? Where there's times where that's not the case. It's like, well, I don't want to go there because they're going to be there. I'm going to go here. Yeah. Right? How have you navigated all this?
So there's two parts to your question I think are incredibly important to touch on. So if we get too far on one, please bring it back to the other.
Sure.
The first point is powerlifting is boxing. All right? Strongman is MMA. And what do I mean by that? We'll get into that in a second. The second piece is you talking about us moving before shit hits the fan. That's figuring out who's a good person. Okay, so we'll touch on the good person first. I listened to this podcast a while ago, and I forget which one it is because I only watch it on Reels. I have ADHD, and God knows I can't fucking do it unless I'm driving. Okay, and the guy talked about like, what's the difference between like the Navy SEALs and the fuckers you don't know exist? And he's like, well, they're all really good. Everybody's amazing. Every Navy, like they're that's a fucking Navy SEAL, right? But the difference a lot of times can be attributed to this. I trust you with my life, but do I trust you with my money and my wife? Right? I trust you run a good powerlifting meet. Do I trust you not to stab me in the fucking back? And what happens over time is people start losing that love, and the reason they forget why they're doing it. Right? And that's one thing for me. I always try to think like, why do I love the sport so much? Is it the sport or the people, and does it matter? Right? I want to be the best at something. Of course I do. I'd be a liar if I said I didn't, right? But what also matters is like, who's around me and how are we going? Do they have the interest of my clients and the lifters in mind? And you can slowly start seeing that lose when people get too complacent in it, right? Or what happens is we start hearing rumblings, which is a little bit of a group chat, of shit coming up. And we're kind of like, okay, I don't like, that's across my moral line. And I'm sorry, I'm not willing to sell my soul for $1. I'm just not. But there are people who are, right? And those guys usually stay, right? So for me, I've been very fortunate to be away from that side of thing, like being an international athlete. Like I'm very much like, what meat are we doing, boys? You know what I mean? And there's very few guys who are actually quote unquote man enough to do it. Right? That's why I love abs so much right now, because abs gives me the opportunity to compete, like actually physically fucking compete against people on the day, rather than just going and looking at open powerlifting and be like, yeah, I'm here and I want to go here, so I need to do this and this and this. There's actually gamemanship and show, and for me, that's what's going to push the sport forward. Because if I show up to a local meet, right, I've done it before because I do think it's important I compete at home once in a while. If I show up at a local meet and that's all I ever fucking do, and I like get to top 10 all time in the world, who cares? That didn't help the sport grow whatsoever. Yes, young lifters get to see me. Yes, my friends and family come watch. My daughter can be in the front row. That's incredible. Awesome. Great. But there's no actual story behind it. There's no actual progression of the sport, because I'm just here, for lack of a better term, beating a dead horse. I win on my openers. That's not exciting. That's not a show people care to watch. They'll watch my Instagram story after, but they're not tuning in to watch. They're not paying the pay-per-view to watch. They're not paying the ticket to come out and see it. So financially, the sport stays the exact same, and we need money to grow the sport. And I think people push against that too much. They can't believe they have to pay for a live stream. Well, okay, I'm sorry, but in a world where things cost money, why is it on me as the meet director so you can sit at home in your house and not pay my entry fee to come watch the meet? In the NFL, if I don't sell enough tickets as an owner to my game, it's not shown on TV. You want to watch the game, get your ass in the fucking seat, right? So that's the first thing, right? These guys create a scenario where I get to compete against the best guys in the world every time I sign up, right? And that's what I mean. Right now, powerlifting is finally turning from boxing and MMA. Where boxing, you have guys who are 60-0 and they beat up shopping clerks and taxi drivers. MMA, you're forced to get in there with a shark. And that's what I love about abs. Force me to compete against the best guys. Because if I go to a local meet and I take a world record, that's cool. But the last time I checked, the Super Bowl isn't won at a high school in Texas. It's one of the biggest stages in the world. And that's where I think world records should be taken, with the most pressure, under the most scrutiny, with the most eyes, with the most cameras, not just to make sure the validity of the record is upheld, but that it's seen, because that progresses the sport, right? When we did the American Pro 2, right? I'm going to fuck this up. We had Brianni, we had Sam, Christy was there, and Hunter was there. I was in the warm-up room watching them. I thought that was the coolest fucking meet in the world, because they had the 4 of the best powerlifters, female powerlifters ever, just fucking trading. And it was cool, and people watched it. And I think that was a big eye-opener for people to say, okay, listen, when multiple people line up and we make it a story, it's cool. But it's one thing to have people line up and compete against each other. It's on the organization and that live stream to actually do their fucking job as a broadcasting unit and research what's going on. Because I've also been at meets where I'm like, you know, when I blew my back out, right? I was like squatted 1,000 pounds. A couple weeks later, you know, adult injury, we'll call it. Talk about it after. Fuck my back up, herniated my L5 really fucking bad, and to the point where like I can't move, and I'm like, I just fucked my entire prep up, and I'm heartbroken. And being the pighead that I am, I decided to compete anyways, and I thought it was going to be okay. And I get to the warm-up room, and I have very, very quick warm-ups. I do a lot of like body stuff and activation stuff, but my first warm-up was 500 pounds. I go 500, 770 platform. It's done. Because for me, a squat's not going to fully warm up my glutes. It's not going to fully warm up my back or my lats or anything like that. So why don't I just warm those things up fully beforehand? And then all I have to do is get used to weight on my back, right? Additionally, at a powerlifting meet, I have 20 minutes to warm up between flights? I don't have time to go plate. I just don't, right? So anyways, I fuck my back up. And I open at like 7:05. Do you think the commentary team knew a fucking thing that was going on? No, they didn't pay attention. Right? And then I squat 915 on my third with a blown out L5. I'm like, wow, that's a really big squat. I'm like, that wasn't even my fucking opener. You didn't even tell the story.
Yeah.
Right? People are home that know me are like, what the fuck? Like, he looks like shit. Right? They have no idea what's going on. So we need to create a basis where there's story, because if I'm watching a fight, right? Like, let's say there's a fight going on and we don't know who's fighting. We don't know what the beef is, and we don't know any historical contents. Are you inclined to spend $60 to watch that fight?
No.
Exactly. So, and with powerlifting, it's not about the $60. It's about the fucking 4 hours the goddamn thing's going to take to see who wins. So we need to create an investment for people to actually sit there and be like, okay, listen, Justin's going for a world record. I haven't, but Justin, let's just say in time, Justin's going for a world record. So is this guy. They're going head to head at the same meet for the same record. And on top of that, there's this positional battle for dots for the best overall lifter. And these guys are all watching this, trying to come and take them. But that's never spoken about. When you, so many times you see live streams and people are talking about them fucking selves on the live stream instead of the lifter. And it's like, bro, I don't fucking care about what you're doing. I genuinely don't. Let me, who is that? Who are they? And what, is that a lot for them? Is this a little bit? Like we had a guy, you know, in our local scene who had a bad bout of cancer. All right. And he comes back and he's lifting way less than he's ever lifted. Now, if you don't know the guy and you've only seen him on meets, you don't know this is what he's gone through. You fucking should, because that's gangster as shit. This dude had his brain cut open twice and he's back on a platform. Dude, get behind this guy. Tell the story, right? So if we can make powerlifting away from boxing into MMA, where the best compete against the best, and there's the story, that's where the sport grows. But people don't want to do it because, let's say you have person A, and in their community they're the man. That's Jesus reincarnated. That's powerlifting Jesus in wherever we are. He's the best, right? Oh my God, the ground, please, you know, clean. And he goes to one of these big meets and he gets his ass kicked. He knows what that does to his stock at home. At least he thinks it does. What he doesn't understand is nobody gives a fuck when you go to a big meet, whether you win or you lose. They just think it's fucking gangster. You went and you competed, right? Like when I did abs this year and I was really sick, right? I sat in the back room after and people thought I was beating myself up, because what I did is I took a chair, I put it in front of me and had a picture of my daughter on my phone. And I was just looking at it. People like, Justin, don't do that. Like, don't put yourself through that, right? I'm like, no, that's all you think it is. I'm talking to my daughter as if my daughter just went through this, and I'm giving her that grace. And when I came out of that conversation was this: I just had the worst meet of my life. I had the heaviest squat on a roster that was arguably the strongest roster of all time, and I got my opener, and that was it. I had the heaviest squat. That's fucking cool as shit. I had my worst ever competition. I got 4th at the strongest roster ever lined up. That's cool shit. When I came home, do you think people cared that I didn't win? No, like, dude, that was fucking incredible. That was an incredible show. That was amazing. Look at that production, all that sort of stuff. And that's what's going to progress the sport, rather than these small local meets taking out world records where nobody's watching and there's no story. We need story to move the sport, in my opinion, right? Because if there's no story, I'm not watching.
Well, it depends how you want to look at the sport, because the top end, yes, you know, to be able to grow that. Because what happens a lot of the times, there's multiple avenues to go down. The first one I'll say is when you have lifters that are only competing in these top meets, and that's all they see.
Yeah.
You know, after X number of years, the politics will start draining on them, right? Because they forget why they did this in the first place. If they went to a local meet and saw the person that just battled cancer to be able to pull 405, then it rejuvenates why they're there, because it's a different thing when you're at that top level. But that aside, you know, if we look at open powerlifting and say there's 100,000 powerlifters that competed last year, there's still only the top 1%, which are the ones doing those big meets. What I see a lot in powerlifting is nobody's paying attention to the 900 and then all the other ones that fall underneath that to be able to grow them back up. That's why you need those local meets and stuff like that.
But that's why those local meets, you need to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Because those are the people that will pay for the live stream.
Those are the people, exactly. They're not only paying for the live stream, they're paying for the meet.
Well, now they're not paying for the live stream because there's no story.
No, it's not even that they're not paying for the live stream because there's no story. It's for me, so for like it was, I always kind of go back to cycling because I don't understand how cycling is a big thing. I'm sorry. It's fucking terrible. It hurts. It sucks. And people in their millions do it, right? But why does it matter? Because the people that pay the bills in powerlifting are these people. Ready? Masters, submasters, and juniors. Why are we paying more attention to them?
Yes.
Right? And when I talk about telling stories and why it's so important, is talk about the junior that's up and coming. Talk about the master who's doing his first or 50th meet, right? Talk about these things. The difficulty is this, right? And we've seen it so many times, right? If I'm running a meet and I have, let's say, 50 lifters, and then now the new price to charge is $200 to do a meet. That's kind of standard right now for us. That's a $10,000 meet, right? You're paying the judges. You should be paying the spotters and loaders. Why aren't you paying the commentators to do their research?
Yes.
Because if I go out there one more fucking time and I hear a commentator talk about a Lord of the Rings fucking sword when a girl's benching, I'm going to pull my hair out.
No, that's a good point, because it's going to take time to prepare.
Yeah.
And most probably aren't, because it's just a friend of a friend.
And they want their 15 minutes on their fucking, oh yeah, I'll do the live stream. That's great. My 15 minutes. I remember I did commentary one time. Like by myself. It was one meet and my jaw fucking locked up by the end of the day. It was terrible. But I had notes on each flight. Like, you know, you have lifter cards, right? With all that stuff. I had the same thing. And I was doing this, right? And I could have used an assistant to organize them because I was, you know, messy by the end of the day. But I had things about them. And the typical questions people ask me, like, oh, we're going to talk about, we're going to ask you these questions. Please fill them out for the live stream. And it's like, what's your favorite color? What gym do you train at? Who inspires you? I don't care what their favorite fucking color is. How about you ask them a question like, hey, Dave, you're competing against Steve in your competition. Do you think he has a chance? And you're like, no, Steve can kiss my ass.
Yeah.
Right? And then Steve's like, well, fuck you, Dave. You know what I mean? And it's that friendly competitive that builds the sport up. Like I said, I don't care what your color is. Your favorite colors. I don't care how many, I don't necessarily need to know how many meets you've done to get invested in this. I need to know about the competitive aspect behind it.
Well, I'm sure I've commentated once. It's the only time I'd ever, and I didn't know I was going to do it till like the day before. So there's no preparing, right? And afterwards, I'm like, I'll never do this again, because to do this the way it should be done would be, I would have to prepare like I do a podcast for everybody that's lifting and then know who they are when they come up.
So for us, we're running a meet in June. Like I said, it's my first meet. And I want it to be a show. I don't want it to be a powerlifting meet.
have every lifter fill out an intake form.
No, I'm going further. I'm going to do like a 5-minute interview with everybody, and I'm going to stick them together. I'm going to use them as content to build up to the meet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you point blank, hey, Dave, you're running against Steve. You got him? He's got a bigger bench than you, dude. I don't know if you got him. And I'm going to try to bait those guys into going to those things, and I'm going to publish them, right? And then based off that interview, as soon as that 5-minute interview is done, I'm only going to probably ask about 10 questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to then write a report on them. Yeah. And then I'm going to give them to the guy I'm doing my commentary, and I'm going to pay him to read all of them and make his own notes. So when you go up, right, and they say, you know, Dave's running for the overall winner in his weight class. If he makes Steve pull something he can never do again, he's ever done before. He needs to do this, have a chance to win. That's big. Yeah. To understand the place.
Well, that's the way to do it right there. Well, because they can prepare.
How many people, does your family understand powerlifting?
Hell no.
My grandma called me out one day. She said, Justin. I said, yeah, Grandma. She's like, why did that guy beat you? And I'm like, well, because dot. She's like, I thought powerlifters were big dumb idiots. Why are you using math to figure out who won? What's a dot? You lifted more than him, right? So if we were able to explain that to the general viewer while they're lifting, right? Have the story, explain what's going on. Now you have people who are like, okay, I understand powerlifting. I can watch the next one. Rather than people just talking about themselves the whole time, rather than the lifter who paid $200, whose time's being disrespected, who's not getting the attention they deserve. If you're going to talk about yourself on a live stream, shut the fuck up. Just let the crowd do the talking.
No, that when you first said that, I started cracking up because I've seen that so many times. Because I'll be watching something, the person who's talking will start talking about how they're training their deadlift. Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck you are for one thing. Yeah, I don't care about your deadlift. I'd like to know who the hell is lifting. Yeah, like just their name would be nice because then I can open powerlifting. You know, I got other things I'm watching at the same time because a lot of times you don't know half the people that are lifting.
Yeah, or they make some boneheaded comment about attempt selection. It's like I said earlier with the GPS, there's a million ways to get there, right? For me, I have my clients lift light on their openers. I want you to do literally just enough to get ready for your second attempt. And then your second attempt is going to be just enough to get ready for your third. Am I using your second attempt as insurance policy? No. You know why? Because no matter what your second attempt is going to be, you're not going to be happy if you missed your third. So who gives a fuck? Let's do just enough. And we make your jumps the same in the gym. So I know what your last warm-up looks like and how it should move. That'll tell me whether we have your third or just a little bit less. Right? But they make these boneheaded comments about attempt selections. Like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Your heaviest squat is not my first warm-up. Shut the fuck up, right? Don't tell me, like, there was a live stream one day, and this guy called me out for attempt selection. I'm like, I remember watching him back, sorry, go back. What did he just say, right? I'm like, is it me that's on this platform, or is it you? Why aren't you on this? Oh, because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Shut up, right? That's why I want people to do research, because then they're going to be held accountable to what they say.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of being like, I had a client this weekend, like, yeah, this guy's typically a sumo puller. I've known Richard for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen him line up at a sumo stance. I nearly shit myself when they said that. You know what I mean? Like, it's stuff like that. We need that story, and that's what's going to help us all grow, right? So when we talk about, you know, the production quality and all that sort of stuff, and, you know, how we get the best guys competing against each other, it's a very limited group of guys, a group of men who are willing to line up against each other, who are willing to set their ego aside and be like, you know what's going to be really good for the fucking sport? Or you know what was really good for the sport? Big dogs. Because those are the best, baddest motherfuckers on one platform, and we still talk about that meet to this fucking day. It wasn't because Odell Manuel went out there and just absolutely shit on everyone. It wasn't because Andre was there. It wasn't because Eric was there. It was because all of them were there, right? That progressed. We need powerlifting to get away from boxing and turn into MMA, right? And the guys who refuse to compete against other guys, I think that says a lot about them. I genuinely do. Because, like, you're scared, dude. Don't be scared. It's literally weightlifting. If I show up and you squat 900 pounds, you squat 900 pounds, not 881 because I showed up. So it's you do you, right? The second thing, right, like we talked about, was that when we're jumping ships from federations or whatever, we kind of have a slight heads up, but we can also see the quality and the care from that person dip. They don't care as much, right? Like, if I go to a meet, right, and the first time I'm there, the guy's like, hey, listen, what do you need? Like, what do you need to be successful on the day? Right? Because that's all we're trying to do. If I'm hosting a meet, I'm trying to make sure that every person that's competing has their best possible day. So if that means they need their handler in the back room, you're not paying to have a handler in the back room. You already paid me $200 plus a membership. Why do I need $20 fucking for a handler in the back room? Here's your thing for free. You know what I mean? Just one person in our room, please, because it gets really busy. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, oh, I need 2 handlers because I have a knee wrapper. Okay, so let me get you a special pass for that second guy when you're wrapping knees. But after that, you know, he's got to go, right? Why am I nickel diming you, right? Or you know, there's all these things that the meet directors do to bleed money out of people. And when you start seeing the cost of things going up, that's when you start seeing the big guys say, okay, I understand why you're doing this. We're going to go somewhere else. Right? That's the biggest one for me. It's like when you start seeing dudes like, it's $60 for your handler's pass. I'm like, oh, okay, that's the last time I'm doing this meet.
Yeah. Okay. So there's red flags.
Well, 100% there is. Like, why am I in the sport? Because I love it. Right? I love it and I want to build it. You're not building the sport. You're just nickel and diming your athletes. Fuck off, man. Yeah. You already got $200 out of me. What else do you need?
You kind of breezed over this herniation thing. What's the story behind that? That was the American Pro, right?
Have a second.
No.
Okay, so no details. Okay, I can do no details, I think. So I love my wife. We were practicing and I blew my back out. Is what I'll say. And, all right. So it was one of those things where it was like and it was bad. Like it was really bad. Like it was one of those ones where like my leg feels wet.
Yeah.
Like this is not good. And I remember just like being there afterwards and like calling my chiropractor and being like, hey man, listen, you cannot repeat this. But like I also felt so bad for my coach because like Joe was going through shit at the time and I put it on me to, you know, do really well this meet to you know, prop his name up, like look at the good work he's doing. And then that, but I can't say that, so then he just looks bad. So you know what I mean? I'm in this weird spot where I'm like, if people asked, I'd kind of tell them and she got mad at me, but then it was like it was what it was. So it was like it was
yeah, it could have been any other thing though, right?
Yeah. Sure.
A laundry basket.
Yeah, exactly.
Way, you know,
right.
So.
And that happens so often where it's not the lifting that gets you, it's something outside of it where
that's my point.
Because when we're lifting, we're so guarded and so regimented in what we're doing that the second we walk out of the door, we're liable to slip on ice.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it was more like we were 4 weeks out. It was a week after I squatted 1,000. I took my last heavy pull that day. I have this weird dumb thing that I do on my last heavy pull, and I don't do it in competition, thankfully. But on my last heavy pull, I'm at my highest risk of injury because for some reason I dropped the slack and I try to yank. Because I'm like speed and power. Speed kills. We talked about this earlier. It kills all your progress, right? And my back was a little bit tight leaving the gym. And so I did, you know, I got home, I went for my walk, I had a bath, I hopped in the hot tub, I ate my food, I did some stretching, everything was good. And then we were practicing and I blew my back out. And it was just one of those ones where like, fuck, are you stupid fucking, you know, I was so mad at myself. I was just beside myself because I'm like, you just squatted 1,000 pounds, dude. And it, for all intents and purposes, look up the video, it was fucking easy. I'm like, you finally did it, motherfucker. And no, you're not.
Yeah.
So it was one of those ones where it was just like, you know.
So what did the training look like? I mean, how did you modify that from that point until the meet?
Yeah. So after that, like bench kind of stayed the same because I'm not a big, like I really make sure I don't have a low back arch. I really make sure that, right? The deadlifting, it's weird because, and I had this weekend with a client actually as well, where if I hurt my lower back, I feel safer deadlifting than I do squatting. I PR'd my deadlift at that meet with my back to a point where there's a video of me that I posted afterwards trying to walk into my Airbnb and it was stairs, like 5 stairs to get in. And it was horrific, me getting in there. And then we had like Pat McGuire over and Joe and Bree were there and a couple of my clients did the pro with me too. And we're all laying on the couch. I'm sitting on the couch afterwards and like we're all done rewatching the live stream because we're analytical and we want to go over what we did right, what we did wrong, what could have went better, right? And I'm like, guys, and like, yeah, I'm like, I can't move. Like, I need help. And they literally had to help me up out of the couch and, you know, all that stuff. But the deadlift wasn't really effective because I'd already done my last heavy pull. right? So it was just light work at that point. I'd already done my last heavy squat, so that was done. So it was just my bench that I had to deal with. So it was a lot of rehab stuff, a lot of like I love, what Andrew Locke, rest in peace, I did with the Lock Base 5. I think that's one of the most brilliant pieces of activation or rehab that I personally can give. Like when I have a client with low back pain, that's one of the first things I turn to, because it helps you activate everything else around them to take the pressure off. Right? I think that's so important. People always just look at like, hey, this hurts, I need to work on this. They don't work around the things around it that are creating inflammation or creating some sort of restriction in movement. And so it was a lot of that stuff. Joe was very, very good on that regard, and like keeping me moving without my back. And it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I feel good. I feel like we're going to be good. I think everything's going to be okay. And then in the second warm up in the back room, my back just went bang in the hole. I remember just like standing there afterwards, and it was a cool moment for me, because up to this point, I'd always equated myself to a F1 car. Warm my tires, put warm fuel in me. You know what I mean? Keep me pretty. Everything has to be perfect, right? And at this moment, I just kind of sat there and I had this conversation with myself. I'm like, well, you drove down to Virginia, you spent a shitload of money on an Airbnb, you took time off work, you lost 2 days with your daughter, so what's it going to be? You gonna be a bitch? Or are you going to see if we can work our way around this? And there's always a way around it. Even if that means you can only squat a plate, so you could bench deadlift, squat the fucking plate. Don't be such an egomaniac that you can't do that, right? So I said, okay, well, let's try this. I usually wear my belt up a little bit higher, like Lilybridge does. I put it right around the thing, just locked it on. And I squatted, and I'm like, okay, I squatted 705. It moved well. I'm like, lower my opener to 705. And I did that. And it went really well. I was like, oh, wow, what a great squat. And my coach is like, Joe just sitting there like, no, it wasn't. That wasn't a great, that's not even how he squats. Like I basically squatted single ply, like the way a single ply squatter. So that's how I did it to keep my back safe. And I didn't have any stretch reflex, nothing, because I was just like slow up. Next one went up. I said, you know what? Fuck it didn't hurt. And this is where Joe said, okay, listen, we need to have a conversation real quick, because I know what you're about to say. And listen, I don't agree with it, but you're a grown-ass man, right? And I said, all right. And I loaded low eights. And everybody's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And I remember Len just beside herself. She's like, she's not happy about this at all. I'm like, load eights. I blow it up and I fall at the top, because I couldn't, like my low back had no, so I fell back, right? I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, but it got up though. Yeah. So I loaded 915. And I remember walking to the platform and it was like, just stay calm. You don't need to get fired up. Don't be an idiot. Like if you need to get out of this, get out of this, right? Like stay with the bar, don't bail. But like you need to get the spotters, take this. So I walk up to the platform and David's there. And David's one of my favorite back spotters. He always brings the energy. Like it doesn't matter if he's 9 sessions deep, this dude is going to yell at you with whatever left he has in his throat, right? And I sit there and I walk up to him like, listen, dude, I can't feel my left foot right now. And I hadn't told anybody this at this point. I can't feel my left foot. The right side of my back feels like I have a knife in it. All right. And I really looked at him, but my dick is too big to stop. So we got to fucking do this. And he looked at me laughing. He's like, all right, I'll stay close. So I go down, tempo. I blow it up and we're good. And I'm happy. Right. And of course I'm happy, because it wasn't a matter of like, oh, I lifted all this weight. So it wasn't even my opener. It was more the fact that like, hey, everything doesn't have to be perfect for me to succeed. Right. And I've been seeing that more and more as I get further on in my career. Like when I did 1,000 pounds in the animal cage this year, Len played a really mean trick on me actually, to get me fired up, and it fucking worked. But it also kind of fucked me up, because like I like my daughter's everything, right? I got like that girl, that's everything to me, right? And she's at all my training sessions, and I have a particular song they listen to that for me is about my wife and my daughter, right? And it's not the typical song you think I'm going to listen to. And it's playing and all that stuff. And before it goes, Len goes up to Will and to Eric Schwartz and goes, hey, do you guys want to maybe potentially cross the line? Like, this might work really well, or Justin might punch you in the teeth. And Eric's like, no, I'm out. I'm gone. And Will's like, bet, what I got to do. So right before I'm about to go, I put my belt on, I'm about to take my ammonia, and he grabs me by his shirt. He's like, this one's for Elliot home. Let's go. And I screamed so fucking loud, I lost all bracing. And I was like trying to put my belt on, and like I couldn't get it tight enough because I just have completely deflated. I've lost everything. And I'm looking down. I'm like, it's on the right place. It's on the right ring. What's going on here? Right? So I take it off. I try to put it on, and like the one thing won't clasp, but the other one will. And I'm like struggling with it. And I finally get it on, and you just see me smile, because I'm like, this is how it had to be. This is how it had to be, dude. You're a more mature lifter. I knew in the moment I had to lift before I even interacted, before I even got under it. I knew the moment I had it because it was one of those like circling moments where I went from everything had to be perfect. Don't stand in front of me when I squat. Don't walk in front of my bar when I squat. Everything has to be the exact anal retentive way it's always meant for me to be successful. And here I am in front of, I asked ChatGPT to look up how many people were in a picture for me, and they said approximately 2,500 people around the cage at this time. And they're all watching you. They all came here for this moment. And I'm just like, well, this is what it has to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. You got this. I literally smile before I left. And it was so cool because it was like, it doesn't matter if I'm injured. It doesn't matter if shit hits the fan. There's a way to do this. Right? It was a growing up moment for me. I was super proud of myself after. I'm like, good for you, man. Like, I'm looking back at the video, I'm like, the belt was on the exact right place. You idiot. You should have just squatted. So no, it's growing up. Like, this sport teaches you so many things if you're willing to listen. The difficulty is being willing to listen.
Yeah. Were there any topics you wanted to go over I didn't bring up?
I mean, the big one for me right now that we're seeing in the sport is just like the same thing Equips is seeing, right? It's the inconsistency and the lack of judging, right? And it's like, there's a million different ideas out there to how to fix it, right? The difficulty is nobody's doing anything about it. They're all just bitching, right? And that's something I used to do a lot. I used to complain a lot, and I eventually one day I'm just like, well, I'm not really doing anything about it. Maybe I should shut the fuck up, and let the people who are, or become one of those people who's doing it, right? So with me running this meet in the spring, it's my opportunity to have the people that I trust the most as refs to do their job on a platform, right? And the one thing that I think that could be taken from other sports is that we never have reffing conferences. We don't have an oversight body for refs, right? Now, I'm not talking about going back and nitpicking every single call a ref makes, because that's not fair, right? Like, what, if you have 30 lifters in a meet, there's 3 squat attempts each, that's 90 attempts of squats, multiplied by 3, you have almost 300 attempts to stare at. And you have a split second to make a call on each one of them. There's going to be mistakes, right? But there's also ways to get better. If we had things like reffing conferences where they went over calls, or they went over things that they want to look at over there, or they show videos, say, hey, what do you see on this? Or they have a lifter that has a script on something to fuck up. You know what I mean? And we can teach them how to get better. That's important. But beyond all of that, a point that I saw recently, and I apologize to whoever posted it, please take claim to this, was somebody said every international ref should have to compete 3 times a year. And I think that's so important, because if you've lost touch with the competitive side of this stuff, if you've lost touch with like what's current or whatever, and you're just sitting in a chair once a month and you're not really in the sport, like competitively, or at least lifting wise, I think that can be a problem. Now, I understand there's older lifters, so maybe there's exceptions to make here or there, but at the same point in time, I think it's something that needs to be looked at, right? Depending upon, like, if you're state, national refs, you won 2 or 3 meets a year. Because how many times do you go to a meet and you're like, you haven't competed in a decade, and you're making the same shitty call you made a decade ago.
Yeah, I think I can make this even more simplified, is because high squats have been a thing since before the internet, right? It used to be written about in May. I've told the story many times before, but when I was in high school training, so we're going back to the fucking 80s, there was Hawaiian record breakers going on, and somebody called our gym to speak to the guy that owned the gym to tell them that somebody squatted high. Right, and it was a world record through the fucking phone call. Right? So then we're all like, "Oh yeah, fucker guy squatted high." Like who knows, right? And then in the magazines, if the picture was taken, the person was high. So it's been a thing the whole time. But the consistency that's always been there, that hasn't changed, is the lifter is the one that's always called out. Why are you not calling out the people who judged?
Well, that did happen recently. That happened with I think it was the USPC. They passed, I think the guy's name was Tyler. I don't know if it was his squat. I think it was, where he squatted, they gave it to him, they took it back the next day. Right? And I have 2 feelings about that. Right? You just gave in to the public. That's such a shit precedent.
Yeah.
Like, mob mentality is so real, and if we just decide that we don't like somebody, and that if they do something that's like a little bit out of bounds, we can get their lift overturned now, that's not a great place to be. That should have been taken care of internally, right? The other thing that we do see a fair bit is, maybe it wasn't Tyler. Anyways, doesn't matter. It was a world record that was taken. The other thing that I see a lot is this, and this is what really I have a lot of questions to ask for people who squat high. And the one question is this: Does powerlifting matter to you? Deep down, does powerlifting matter to you? And I think if they're a world record holder, I'm going to probably say yes. Okay, so you put, like, how many hours a day would you say when you were like going after it, powerlifting took up in your day?
All of it.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about just gym time, we're going to say driving to and from, warming up, talking to your buddies and training is about a 3 to 4 hour endeavor.
Oh yeah, easy. Okay. Yeah.
How many hours a day do you sleep?
8. You know.
Okay. Do you fall asleep right away?
No.
So it's 9 hours. Okay. How many hours a day do you work?
Then or now?
then, right?
The least amount possible. It's 6, 8.
Okay, 6, 8. But you had to drive there, so it was 9.
Yeah.
So you have 18 out of 24 hours left, and you spent 4 out of it in the fucking gym. 2 of it, hopefully, was with your family, right? If you have a family, right? So 60% of your free time you've given to the sport, and you're going to cut a fundamental basis rule out of it. I want nothing to do with you. Because if this is what really matters in your life, you're going to donate 60% of your time, probably all of your mental capacity to. You're going to make sacrifices of your family outside of it, and then you're going to go and do something as flagrant as break a rule and say, well, they gave it to me. I want nothing to fucking do with you, because if I only get 20% of your time or 10% or 5% of your time, and that's what you give to everything, I don't want to see what you give to your friends. I don't want to see what you give to your partner. I don't want to see what you give to your kids. Because if this is all your life is wrapped up in, and you're going to cut things that are really important and dilute the integrity of the sport, fuck, I don't want anything to do with you. That's a pretty good indicator that we're not going to talk. Right? And you look at all my friends in squat high, right? Because it's true though. Like, how could you give everything to your life and just disrespect it at the same time? It doesn't make sense. But if you go in the context of being all in on the shit that's convenient, it kind of does.
Well, it's where they come up through.
Yeah.
Right. So if a lot of people will bash on like IPF lifters and shit like that, but when you started in an IPF gym, right, then pretty much that's the path that you're going to take, and you're going to kind of stay on that path. You know, if you start in a gym to whatever the federation, so a lot of bashing goes on, but they don't understand that this is really all they know. So if somebody comes into a gym that competes in a federation, that the standard is, 2 inches high. Yeah. And they started when they were young. Yeah. They don't know any different.
But like, you read the rule book.
Do they?
I would hope.
The competitors?
Yeah, at a certain point, if you've been in it long enough, you know whether a squat is high or not. Like, you can't just go, oh, I'm part of this cult. They all said it was good. Everything's great. No, man. Like, you've been called out. Like, especially if you're going for a world record, somebody has some along the way, somebody on the internet, somewhere along the lines has said, you squat high. Yeah. And you're like, it's like, dude, you can see it, right? And like I said, if you're going to put so much of your life into something and just not and you're going to cut it like that, that's a problem, right? And it's scary for me, because it's like, we see it, and we're seeing records taken that won't get beaten because they're so fucking flagrantly wrong. Or like, you see like soft knees on deadlifts. So that shouldn't count it, and that probably cost somebody money on a win, right? Or you see like for me, right? Like, I was going to take the sleeve world record this year, and I just said, what the fuck does it matter? Because somebody at some point in time is going to squat high, so why don't I just go to super heavyweight and do what I wanted to do my whole career anyways? And that's what I did. Like, it was part of the switch. I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is, let's go. Right? So that's a big one for me. So I have a really hard time grasping my head around the fact that you put all of this stuff into this one thing. You make so many sacrifices, and you cut fundamental basis of it. It just doesn't make sense.
Let's say you're in a meet, right? Yeah. And the prize is $500,000. Yeah. Right. And everybody you're squatting with is squatting an inch high. Yeah. Right. And they're all squat about what you can. What are you going to do?
I'm going to squat to depth. I can't be bought. Okay. I can't be bought. Yeah. Like, it's not happening, because here's the thing. 500 grand is a lot of money, right? When you die, do they put your bank account on your gravestone? Or do they talk about the type of man you were? Right? Like, and in terms like losing Liam, right? For me, the only complaint we had about the guy, we didn't see him enough. He was a homebody, right? But if you're a guy who can be bought and swayed for a commercial or a product or any of that bullshit, right? Your heart's not actually in it. And if I'm going to do something in this life, if I'm going to truly put everything into something in this life, I'm going to do it the best right way that I can. And if I know that something is wrong, like in terms of like rules in a sport or like squatting high, for example, right? I'm not going to do it to get an advantage, because that's not what I'm supposed to be. That's not what a moral human being should be doing, right? You're going to cheat to win. Well, that's not a win. You cheated, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. If I lose 500 grand to it, okay, I have to go to work on Monday. Fuck, like, what is it? I love this shit. I'm not going to fucking cut away its foundation. That's like living on a boat and every day taking a plank out of the bottom and being like, yeah, it should stay afloat. It'll be great.
Well, I'm trying to process and think of all of the reasons why people will justify what it is to be able to throw.
Because none of their friends are honest enough with them.
Well, I know that, right? So it's... I'm like processing all these different meats and all the different reasons why people will say that it's where I agree with you. Yeah. But the reality is that's not what
it's happens. It's not at all.
And in a perfect world, it would, but it doesn't, right? So it's I don't know why it's there. We have technology now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why somebody hasn't implemented in the technology to be able to judge.
Because the counter argument is this, right? It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
If you put a dot on the top of your knee and a dot on your hip crease, the top of your hip crease, you'll basically get a switch. And when they cross, you know you're good. What are people going to do with that, though? They're going to take their singlet, they're going to crank it over the side and cheat the dot.
Sure, right? And you know what? They're still 3 inches fucking lower than they were.
So my whole thing has always been this, right? If we can get to a point where we have a federation, which is why now I'm spending money hand over fist to travel to go do abs meets, where I know that if I get beat, the lift was good, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Right? So like, for instance, last year, they got a lot of shit at Clash of Titans last year because Nick Dupre's lost the meet on his last pull. And it was a cunt hair call. Like, I'm talking... They must have had 3 pairs of glasses on to see this, but it was the right call. And Nick was asked after, hey man, listen, like that would have passed out any other meet. If Zach pulled like that to beat you, would you be happy? He said, no. Okay, I can fuck with that. We're going to do abs meets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do people say they're overly strict? Sure.
But if it's with everybody, it's fair playing field.
Exactly. I got a fucking red light. I just realized this last week. I messaged Jay and I'm like, hey man, I just realized on my third squat on the right side, I got a red light. What the fuck was that for? Right? And he's like, oh, let me look into it. Right? And it was like, you know what? It looked from the side that you were a little bit high. And I disagreed with him entirely. I sent him the screenshot like every asshole would, but I kept it in-house. It didn't need to be a great big conversation where I'm on the thing, oh, I'll never do an abs meet again because they called me high. It's like, you can't say that and then on the other side say the only eyes that matter are the judges. Pick your poison, right? Yeah. For me, he thought it was high. I disagree. That doesn't mean I have to hate the guy. I don't agree with everything all my friends do. It doesn't mean I hate them. It just means we have different perspective on what happened.
Yeah.
And how arrogant am I to think that my voice is the one that's always right? It's not. Right? Yeah. So no, man, like when we talk about like the judging fuck ups and people losing their mind over calls and shit, I'm like, listen, here's the deal. Your opinion's going to be your opinion. The three lights that matter are the judges. And if the judges are not making the right call, then something needs to be done. That right to your point. Why aren't we calling the judges out? Yeah. It's a perfect way to do it. Right? Because I think the reason why we don't is because people aren't going to want to judge if they make a bad call, so they're going to be held accountable.
Well, in every other sport, that's what they do.
Exactly.
Like American football, if a call is bad, who are they blaming?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No, exactly, right? Like they're all like, oh, screw that player. That was his fault. It's like, well, he made the mistake, but they didn't give the call. So it's actually on them, right? Like I think about it all the time where it's like, how do we fix the judging issue? And it's like, well, for the safety of the lifters, you can't pull the spotters away to get a clear view. That's a given. Yeah. Like we need those 5 guys around the squat. That's difficult. But how many times do you watch me and that judge's ass is glued in the chair? And they aren't anywhere near their knee. They aren't trying to find the angle.
Oh, I've seen some. Yeah, I've seen some meets where I don't even know where the judge's chair is at the most. It's in the front for the side.
Yeah, And you're like, how the fuck did you make a call all day? Did you use the force to detect what they were doing? Because you didn't use your fucking eyes, right? Or you see the judge right behind a spotter. And are you asking the spotter if they got to depth? Because you didn't see it, right? You got to move. You got to get out of your fucking... And I understand there's some federations where like you have to be in contact with the chair. Like I remember when I was in the WPC, you have to always be touching the chair. So you know what I would do? I would get on my knees and put my hand up on the chair. I'm touching it. Now I can see depth. And all the other judges hated it because they had to start doing it themselves. And it's like, if you're scared of a judge of being held accountable for your calls, that means you're not confident in your calls because your federation hasn't done enough to train you, which is why I think we need to have these conferences for the refs to get better.
Yeah.
There's training camps for refs in every fucking sport.
Yeah.
But we don't have it in powerlifting where we seem, and it's not a coincidence that this is a sport where we constantly complain about the refing. Right? Because we don't actually help the refs get better. We help the coaches get better. We help the meet directors get better. We help the federations get better. We help the athletes get better. But the people who decide whether or not the lift is good or bad get left in the dark every time.
That's a good point.
Like, why? Like, what the fuck are we doing here, right? Like, I talked to my dad about like how he makes his, his cycling, because my dad coaches for Cycling Canada. Like, he coaches on how to be better coaches, and I've asked him for the way that they create their programs and all that sort of stuff. And I brought that to federations, and they're basically, he worked yet. Like, okay, no, we're not.
Yeah.
This is maybe why I don't compete in Canada as much as I want to.
Interesting.
It's why I travel. It's like I want to compete against the best, but I also want to be somewhere where there's legitimacy to what I'm doing. Right? I don't want to go to some backyard meet where I can squat a mile. I don't think I truthfully could squat high at this point. Like, I think it's so ingrained in my body that I couldn't do it. But I could definitely soft lock out a deadlift. Yeah. But I didn't get it though. Like, you didn't get it. And you're just propping this idea up that, oh yeah, I got a world record, but it didn't actually matter. So... No, for me, integrity over everything.
Yeah. So how can people go about finding you?
For sure. So my personal page is full Zottl on Instagram, and then the team page for coaching is Team Zottl, and our gym is Just Be Strong.
All right. We'll have all the links in the description. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. So
thank you.
We're done.
Awesome.
All content you see on this channel and at elitefts.com is created by, take a guess, Elite FTS. If you want to help support the content, head over to elitefts.com and pick up literally anything that you need to be able to get more jacked and strong.